This episode of Heavy Cardboard is brought to you from the great folks over at GameSurplus.com, bringing the world of board games to you. Now, on to the show.
Welcome to Heavy Cardboard, where we talk medium and heavy strategy board games, war games, 18xx, and Jim, what do you talk about on your show?
Whatever the hell we want to.
See, exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you for joining us.
We just talk. We don't care. I don't know. What do people want us to talk about?
So I guess technically
Have we
tonight...
started?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So technically this is punching heavy cardboard.
Wait, whoa.
Heavy punching cardboard.
Or, well, No, they're older, so punching heavy
Yeah, they
cardboard
are.
is right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're
but you're
older and
bigger.
have more episodes.
And heavier. You have an elephant
and younger.
mascot. And younger. And faster.
Stronger.
And stronger.
We can rebuild him.
Yes.
And you're both there, and it's only one of us here because the other one's in the bathroom. So,
Well, hey, we don't judge. It's okay.
so realistically, we were all supposed to do our own intros to this episode. We do mention that in the episode proper that we're doing our own intros.
Right.
At some point.
Chronologically, this is all whacked out.
And
right?
when we got done with the marathon session, Eric jumped out of his seat through the door and said, "Oh God, I gotta go." And so he headed to the bathroom because he had been drinking so much water. Oh wait, no, he was drinking whiskey. I don't know how that makes you pee, but after that, we forgot to record our intro. So your idea was let's all do this together, and Eric is obviously in Gresham, so.
Right. So we thought we planned on doing this tonight anyways. And we were like, and then when you mentioned that, we were like, oh, why don't we just all do it together? Yeah, that's fine. That's cool. So what you been playing lately?
What have I been playing lately?
Yeah.
I played Suburbia. Woo.
Did you enjoy it? It sounds like you thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, our audiences may or may not like Suburbia anymore.
That's not.
I
Hold
think
on.
Suburbia
I didn't
is
ask.
fine. I
didn't
enjoyed
ask,
it. I know I was
what have you
getting
been
to
playing that our audience
Right.
cares about? I just asked.
All right.
What have
Well,
you been playing?
Suburbia last night,
Okay.
today.
All right.
My boy had a meltdown playing last night because his income went way down as his population kept going up, which is, he's played this game many, many times, so he should understand that.
Right.
And then he kept having meltdowns, and we helped him solve that. And then, I guess I have to buy this one. I didn't want it. And at the end of the game, he was on 110 points, and I was on 110 points, and the wife was down the road. And he thought he'd won, but I had more money, so I got the extra points on the money conversion. But all that to get to the point where you could have won this game, but you're too busy whining.
Yep.
So, and
it's funny you bring up whining, because when we did our review last week of Dominant Species, that was one of the rules that we set as a ground rule, that I don't care how far behind you are in Dominant Species, no whining.
Right.
Because the end game scoring's so massive. I don't want to hear it.
yeah,
No whining's allowed.
yeah. And did somebody whine?
Always.
Yeah.
He always whines.
It's
do.
you? I thought you were the expert.
Every time.
Not every time.
Every time.
Okay, hyperbole, lady.
Every time.
But I thought you're the expert on Dominant Species.
He is, but he still whines.
Doesn't anyway. Moving on. So Suburbia.
Does he
okay.
at least lose after all the whining, or
No,
does he win?
he wins.
So
No,
he
I do-
whines about it, and then he wins, which makes you just want to punch
which
him in the face,
is the worst
right?
human being in the
He
world,
actually,
right?
he does that in other games, not just Dominant Species, honestly.
You
Yeah.
make it sound like I am the most miserable person in the world to play games
You can
with.
be. Sometimes.
Wow.
You can be. So can I. We all can be miserable
Yeah,
sometimes.
but it didn't sound that way.
Well, it's the way you took it then.
Well, So what else other than Suburbia?
So what else? Well, I'm going to go down this list of what I've been playing this past week, and if anybody who is one of your listeners who has never tried us, well, this is going to guarantee that they don't, because
It's all super
We're
late
going to get
stuff.
super heavy with Port Royale. and Whistle Stop. And
Oh, hold on. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
So, would you any thoughts on Whistle Stop? Did you enjoy it?
Suburbia with trains.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. It was my first play. I wasn't given full information. Eric likes to do that. I give you 95%, but there's this one other thing I can do.
The one gotcha, the Jerry rule.
The Jerry rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't know you know, when you play your coal, you could just skip all your trains. Oh, I told you that. Well, you told me 7 million rules. I haven't played this yet. Oh, yeah, I discovered that after my first game. I said, well, there you go. So did it help him win? No. So anyway.
Okay. But you enjoyed it, though?
I enjoyed it. It's light to medium. And I don't know. It's light. It's suburbia weight.
Okay.
It's got a lot of the same things that make you might enjoy suburbia. Have you played it?
We have it. We haven't played it yet. We've played Suburbia plenty of times, though. So looking forward to it. I mean, I expect it to be something around, like one step up from Ticket to Ride is kind of what I'm anticipating.
Sure. It's a step up from Ticket to Ride. Is it step up from Chicago Express? There's different things you're doing. Paris Connection. I don't know. It's about that weight, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, cool. Looking forward to trying it at least, for sure.
It's just got the tiles that can do different things in like Suburbia in a way. So, and then you get your train on it, and you're either going to the coal yard and picking up coal, or you gotta buy. You get to the place where you buy stock, and you have to be able to buy it. Otherwise, you're going to take negative points. So that's kind of an interesting move. And you're trying to go from east to west. You get to west, you get bonuses, and it's Railroad Revolution in a way. Without it, I don't know. I liked it better than Railroad Revolution. Let's say that.
Okay, cool.
So, Jingopolis, which is,
That's
I think it's a good
That's
game.
really popular with our patrons. Or on the Slack channel, they talk about that quite a bit. So
yeah,
we haven't played it yet, though.
Legacy Gears of Time, which I had on my list when I started this hobby 5-6 years ago. Whenever one of the first games on my list, it's sitting on my list. I've seen it go down to like $15 and have avoided buying it. Oh, do I really want it? And it was all right. It wasn't bad.
Okay.
It doesn't make me regret not having picked it up 4 or 5 years ago, but I'll play it again. I don't think I'm gonna go pick it up, but this time if I do see it on a fire sale, I might add it. But
Okay. All right. Not exactly a ringing endorsement, but at the same time, not bad. Just a game on a pile of games.
Well, yeah. So, all right. When we started this, 4 years ago? You guys 3.5. You were about 6 months
thereabouts.
after we started, and we were all fairly new to the hobby, or this part of the hobby, at that point, right? 5 years or so, basically, for all of us. 5 years ago, this would have felt something different and interesting, and it would have felt heavier than we were used to because we hadn't encountered
Inevitably.
Lisboa and Arkwright and all these other games. So, but now, with the technology having risen and gone past this level, I like it. If you like a suburbia weight game, if you like a little bit of going back and forth, supposedly in time, which no game has really been able to reproduce. It felt more like that than Anachrony did, though. And it's a good family weight game. So if you have casual gamers or family gamers that you have to appease when, that don't want to do the heavy stuff with you, I don't know. It was fine. It was fine,
Well, okay. On that note, when we were last up there, we played. What was it? It was Manhattan Project,
Energy Empire.
There. Okay, so compare it like weight wise, something like that. Which would you rather play? Would you rather play Legacy or the Manhattan Project Energy Empire?
So Energy Empire works. I'd say they're fairly similar weight level, but Energy Empire seems to give you the illusion that it's heavier. So there are these mid-weight games that just play so well and have enough moving parts and are tight enough that you think you're playing a game with more depth. I would say
Something that punches above its weight.
right. And I would say Energy Empire did that for us. I thought it was a good session. I think Amanda remembers I said, you got to get these cards. And she said, I'm not getting those cards. I don't care what you say. I'm not going to get those cards. I'll try to win this way. And it didn't work. But that's fine. She has her prerogative, right? So I think it's in that vein. Funny you should say that because I played that this week as well, and the boy beat us at that. So, but a game like Blood Rage, is that even any heavier than these? I'm not sure. So these all fit in that light to mid-weight, casual, can get your family members around. There's enough there for you as a heavy gamer to enjoy it while you're playing with people who aren't heavy gamers.
Every collection needs those.
Yeah,
oh,
absolutely.
exactly.
Yep.
I mean, Eric and I have been playing Champions of Midgard on and off. And
I know
just
you're
got
a really
the
big fan of that.
expansions for it, which add more of the same and more of a little bit different to it. And yet, at the end of every session, we just feel like we've had a really good session of a really solid worker placement game with just the tiniest bit of luck, which adds to the tension of it, the success-fail aspect of it. And the scores seem to be close. Everybody seems to be in it. It just seems like you're working for something, and it goes the right amount of time. It just feels really good to play. So, yeah, every collection, you need a selection of those. Because not everybody wants to play 9-hour train games.
Not everybody.
All the time.
All the time being I mean, everybody wants to.
Yes.
They just may not know it yet.
Right, exactly.
Correct, right?
That's what the kids said. We ended up playing Suburbia because she says, I want to play a game. What do you want to play? Oh, yeah, I know. You want to play a 9-hour train game. Okay, let's do that. It was 7 at night. Yeah, we're not doing that. Well, we can do it for 2 hours, and then I'll play it with you again for 2 hours tomorrow and 2 hours the next day because I can't go more than 2 hours on your train games.
That's funny.
I said, funny. Yeah, a few more years when you understand the financial aspects, maybe we'll do that.
Nice. So for us, we got a couple, just really only 3 games to the table.
We've been so sick. Everybody's been so sick.
Right, but now that we're off the schneid, so to say.
Well, you two anyway.
Well,
yeah. The other 2 are definitely.
Luckily, I've dodged all of the bullets. Knocking
you
on
better,
wood.
yeah, knock on that table.
Because the only thing that's really hit me is allergies. So hopefully I will have just smooth sailing.
Well, your immune system's definitely stronger than anybody else I've ever met.
Yeah. It's called being ill a lot when I was little.
or that. So for us, we've been getting Forbidden Stars to the table. We're going to be live streaming that on Saturday, the first live stream of the Patron Drive, which I'm really nervous and really excited about this game to live stream it because have you ever played it, Jim?
We have a history of space game meltdowns. This was meltdown number 2, man. Yeah, we tried to play it one night. Yeah, this worked out really, really well. Haven't touched it since. Haven't gone near it. I'm not even looking at the box that's on your wall on the Skype thing here. I've got my hand up so I don't see the box, man.
So who melted down then is the question.
Wasn't me.
Okay.
Wasn't me.
Well,
this was Hegemonic Part 2, and if you know the Hegemonic story, this was almost worse.
I was very pleasantly surprised by this game.
Really?
I enjoyed it far more than I thought I would. It's very much a slow-paced game, meaning that there's no speeding up the game. Even with experienced players, it's still going to take its time.
Yep.
It just because you can't.
You can't fast forward anything.
You can't because the combat with the way the cards play and everything, I mean, there's thought that goes into every single thing that you do. And it's procedural in a sense, but it definitely takes a fair bit of time.
Yeah.
So this stream is going to be upwards of 4 or 5 hours, even though it's only going to be 3 of us playing it. But all that said, yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And only, I guess, nervous about it is Dan's going to be teaching the game. Not that I don't trust Dan to be able to teach the game well. I think he did a great job when he taught Scythe on the stream. It's not that. It's just there are a bunch of little gotcha rules here and there. It is a fantasy flight game for those unfamiliar with it. It's but it flows really well, and we have definitely been enjoying that.
Yeah, I mean, there were things that I thought were pretty cool about it. There were some couple things that I thought just I hated, and maybe getting full plays in, but it would prevent me from going back to it too. It's,
Like what?
first of all, you're in space, right? I think space
Sure.
is kind of
Right, yeah.
wide open, up and down, left and right, and there's this bar that goes across the board that blocks
the warp
you.
storms.
The warp
Yes.
storms. The bar that blocks you.
It's a really big
All of a sudden,
storm.
space becomes two-dimensional. It becomes a platform. Little things like that just drive me crazy. Oh, arbitrarily, this is going to block you from going this quadrant to that quadrant, even though you should be able to get around it in numerous number of ways if you can travel in a spaceship among the stars. So
Well, I mean, it does have warps as well, so there's that.
and the way the setup has everybody spread out, so it kind of, I don't.
Hold on. Now that we played the first time we played it, we played the recommended first game setup.
Right, which is probably what we did.
However, makes a world of difference when you. It's not really a draft. It's one player. Everybody gets 3 tiles, and you place down a tile. And when you place down that tile, you make the determination of how many units you're going to place onto that tile and where.
Okay.
So you get some freedom. And then subsequently, you go around and around the table clockwise, laying down a tile. It has to share an edge, and it makes it a lot more contentious and a lot less, I'm going to start over here. You're going to start way over there and stuff like that. So we found that we have enjoyed the custom setup far more than the learning game setup. Definitely.
Yeah, that's usually the case especially with the Fantasy Flight games. Once you add in all the bells and whistles, but then you add in all the bells and whistles, and it becomes kind of fiddly and all kinds of rules exceptions and things like that, like you said. So, but if you're in the mindset for that, that's what you want. That's what you do, right?
Sure. Yep. So Saturday's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a long stream, but I'm looking forward to it.
Are you in it, Amanda?
I am not.
Oh,
By
It'll
her
be the boys.
choice.
Yes, by my choice.
have you played it yet?
Yes.
And is this choice because you've played it?
Well, no, it's because I played it 4 and I felt it drug a lot, and I wasn't the biggest fan, but I haven't played it since. So I want to play it with fewer players. I'd like to play it at 3 and at 2 to see if I like it better than at 4, but I just elected to not be in this one.
Plus, we thought 3 was going to be the optimal number for not making a 8-hour live stream.
So it's a mirror trash on the heavy cardboard live stream.
Yep, exactly. It actually was requested, and
Much requested.
yeah, and so we said that Dan was going to be a part of it, and then schedules didn't work out. Then we got sick, and 4 months later, we're finally getting around to doing it.
Yeah, see, that's the difference between your show and ours. You guys are doing requests. If we did our requests, we would have killed each other or ourselves several times over by now because of some of the requests we have gotten. We finally did our Mythotopia showdown that was requested, and then kind of we got conned into it by a poll on our guild that ended up in a tie. So they said you have to settle it on the table, and we settled it on the table. So
All right. Speaking of polls and requests,
yeah.
now I'm not going to put any kind of time frame on this.
Uh-oh.
But there is going to have to be a joint review between at least you, maybe, when Eric is indisposed traveling and everything, to where the 3 of us sit down and dig in to a quality review, Stratomatic Baseball.
Well, as Eric's never played it right now, I'd have to get him to play it.
Well, no, I'm saying if he's not around, and the 3 of us could do a joint review.
Yeah, I'm up for it. I think
that'd be fun.
Things like that need to get a lot more press than that game I'm blocking on your wall.
All right, right, so yesterday, Saturday, we had basically a MOA Ideas game day. We played Mini Rails, and then we played Tulip Bubble. And
All right, what is that?
oh my gosh, it sounds silly, but it is. Tulip Bubble is good. We really enjoyed it.
I was very pleasantly surprised. So normally whenever game day or whenever we're planning on playing a game, somebody knows it ahead of time, whether it's me and, we've played it before, or I've at least gone through the rules in like a sample game just to get my feet wet. However, we got sent a review copy of Tulip Bubble and we hadn't played it yet. I had a high-level overview given to me at Gen Con, but we hadn't played it. It's what we thought was going to be just a filler game.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hey, we'll just bust this out and learn it on the fly. It's a small rule book. It's like 6-8 pages, but they're really small pages. It's not a big rule book. And dude, don't sell this game short.
I know nothing about this game, so
okay,
it's
so
hard to sell it short. I've never seen it.
Back in 1636 or 1639, I can't remember, in the Netherlands, there was tulip mania to where commodity speculation ran rampant. And tulips people were literally making fortunes just dealing in tulips.
Okay.
And so this game simulates that, abstractly. I mean, every game's an abstraction,
sure.
Right? And so it's all about investing and commodity speculation with a little bit of random element in the event that happens every round for being able to change the value of certain colors of tulips. And every player starts with so much money, and they place bid markers out on the available tulips, and you see what tulips are going to be available the subsequent round. You can either buy these tulips outright or you can finance them through the bank. And then you can turn around and sell these tulips based on, hopefully they have appreciated instead of depreciated, and you make a profit off of them. And you can basically buy on margins without actually having the money by borrowing the money from the bank. And it's just a really, I don't know, maybe an hour and 15 minute really clever commodity speculation game that everybody, all five of us at the table, were like, holy shit, this is fantastic.
Yeah. This is not at all what we were expecting. It was really good.
Does it have?
And
go ahead.
One of our players, Mike, told a story about that actually happened back then. He said that one of the workers one day went and had his lunch, and he had taken an onion with him, and he ate his onion and then finished his lunch and came back to work, and the boss said, that wasn't an onion that you ate, and you now owe us $30,000.
Or the equivalent back then.
Because he ate a tulip bulb.
Oops.
Oh. And that's how much it was going for?
Yeah. And
that's how it was.
Apparently so. So that's some MOA ideas, both Tulip Bubble, and we already did kind of a trailer review of Mini Rails, which is a fantastic thinky little filler. That you want to talk about it?
Sure. We already talked about it a little bit on our show, but it's you invest in companies or you lay rail. That's the only two things you can do. And it's amazing what you can forget and try to do again in only 2 turns. You'll forget what you did the first turn, and but you can lay track in companies that you're not invested in to hurt other players. You can tank stocks. You can just it's definitely, like you said, a thinky filler that we enjoy playing.
Yeah, 6 rounds. You have 2 actions on each turn. One, your choice of which order you do them. Either you invest or you lay track. Those are your 2 options. And you invest by taking a disc onto your board, and hopefully when people lay track, it lays track in a positive location as opposed to a negative location. Or you lay track and hopefully hurt the other players. And each share has its own value individually. So when you purchase that share, or I guess acquire that share, there's no money in the game. When you choose to invest, you just place it on the 0 spot. So it could be that Amanda has already invested a couple rounds ago in the yellow stock, and her stock is already at 6 value. Whereas when I invested in it, well, it's a baseline of 0. So hers is at 6, mine's at 0. So whatever happens to all those that are owned at that point. So whether they all go up by 2 or 3, or whether they go down 1, 2, or 3. So her value, it's possible mine's negative and yours is still positive.
And on that same vein, if I buy another, in that same example, if I buy another yellow, then mine also starts on 0. I don't get to join where my another already was.
So yeah, the timing mechanism of when you invest into companies is really clever as well. And just, really impressive small box games.
Another game that does a lot more than is in the box or that
exactly
you would expect with 2 little actions there, right?
Say again?
With just 2 actions. I mean, it just is that much. I mean, all the depth just comes from who's doing what when.
Yep. You have 12 actions over the course of 6 rounds.
That's a quick
Make
game.
them count. Yeah, it's so those are definitely 2 games that are punching above their weight class.
Yep. So is that is that the best thing you've played in the month?
Well, we really haven't played anything.
Actually, honestly, in September, it's pretty much been those 3 games.
That's right. You've been in bed the whole month.
I pretty much have. So honestly, I would be hard pressed to say which is the best game between the 3 of them. I will say that I enjoyed Tulip Bubble far more than I thought I would. Out of those 2 from Mo Ideas, whether we're talking Mini Rails or Tulip Bubble, I really expected Tulip Bubble to be, that's fine. I expected it to be decent, but not nearly as good as it was. And I could maybe make a case that might be my favorite out of the 3 of them. And I feel like we've played 3 really good games this month.
I would agree with that, and I would say that for sure it's my favorite out of those 3.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, out of all this stuff I've played this month, there's only been one that has stood out, and that is and I'll try to pronounce it correctly because I don't know, people might get crazy, but the either Sidereal Confluence or Sidereal Confluence. However,
Sidereal.
It's Sidereal. All right. That's a crazy game, man. And
so talk about that a little bit, because it's actually sitting on my nightstand right now as I'm going through the rules. We haven't gotten it to the table because we haven't had the right player count to be able to play it yet.
Yeah, we did a pretty good first impression on our last episode, but I'll go short with this. It's basically just negotiation. There's all these cubes. They represent different things. You each have an asymmetrical start to your race. There are, I believe, 9 races in the box, and they all have a difficulty rating starting at 1 going on up, and the game recommends you start with the first 4, but we had 5 players, so we had to add in a 5th one and decide which one that is. And
who took it on the chin?
I took it on the chin.
Okay.
Because I was teaching. It was my game. I was teaching. I figured, I have the advantage of having read the rules and spread it out and all that stuff. So, I didn't take it on the chin in the end, though. So, but you basically are you're just negotiating. You can trade your resources. You can trade the cards that produce your resources. If they're a race-specific card, you'll get that. It's only a loan, so that card will come back to you the next turn. You do all this trading, and then you run the cards, whichever cards can be run. And while you're trading, you can upgrade your technologies. You invent a technology, and you pull that card out of your deck, and you add it to your tableau. And at the end of the round, at a certain point during the round, you will then score points for that technology, put that technology in the center, and everybody else will pull that technology out of their deck and put it in front of them. So they all gain your knowledge at the end of that round. So there's a whole lot of interesting stuff going on.
So you possess it for that first round, otherwise
you do,
it becomes joint
and
knowledge.
You get the points for it during the game. So you want to invent it, unless you're a certain race, like the race I was playing, that said, don't waste your time inventing technologies early. You want to produce. You're the economic powerhouse. You want to go down that route. Ty had the one that was the colonization powerhouse. And about halfway through the game, I turned him and I said, "Hey, what's that stack of cards you got standing? It looks like colonies right next to you." He's like, oh yeah, I was probably supposed to start using those when the game started. So Eric,
So Ty did not win.
Eric, no, Ty doesn't win. Eric's race is the one that had to go out and get relics. Todd had the easier race, and they just produced a lot of green. I remember
A lot of green, right?
a lot
I
of
remember
food. They were
reading
doing
up on
food
them.
and all that stuff. And then David, he produced nothing. We don't know why. He doesn't know why. He ended up taking his race card and putting it behind him, so he didn't even have in front of him to know what he was supposed to do. But he said on the second round, I kind of like this game, which is what
All
he
right.
says for every game.
So here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about when we recorded this episode, so we're going back in time, but forward, about how
we're so
like-
linear.
I know, right? Yo, dog. How a game like Terra Mystica, to where you have to follow what your faction says you need to do.
Right.
So, but you enjoyed it in this respect.
I did, because I didn't have to follow it. It's suggested to me. So the card reads, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't have it in front of me and it's been a couple weeks, but it tells you that if you do things right, you will have your engine will be up and running like nobody's business in 9 turns. And then the very next sentence says, unfortunately, the game only lasts 6 turns. So it gives you this strategy of, oh, this is what you should do. However, you're going to have to figure out some other ways to get
That's
some other
funny.
points and everything.
That's awesome.
And thanks. And at the end, whatever resources you have left over from your final production, some of those might go into a place where you actually are forced to trade them, your donation pile. So you either trade them or you have to donate them, which is another aspect. We didn't get much into it. People weren't using cards that had that aspect, but it's there. But that will all come to you at the end, and you get half the points. And the point totals at the end of the game go to half points at that point. So it was a half-point victory. It was pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
And
You know, you're not doing anything to temper my excitement for this game, just so you know.
well, I'm going to tell you this. For me, I thought about it all the next day. I think Eric has a few reservations that I don't have. I figured the group that I had sat down at the table for it, I thought this could do one of two things. This could go really, really well, or this could just
Really
be
badly.
an explosion, because I could just see Ty over there going, yeah, this isn't a game.
It is a space
And he'll
game,
get on
right?
his phone and he'll go, I'm rating this a 1 on BGG. And then it's time for him to do something. He'll be like, I pass. And then he'll just keep typing in how horrible the game is, and it would just
Right,
become
giving it a
horrible
1
experience,
rating, right.
But
We love you, Ty.
we do. And that can be as funny as other things he does. But he started getting into it, and then I realized, there's something here. There's something going on. I felt it was thematic enough, even though, of course, it's abstract. I don't know. It's just something I want to explore more. I want to rotate the different races that I play, the different ways to go about it. There is one that's kind of a race out there that steals stuff from everybody. It's recommended you don't play with that one until everybody knows what they're doing. I
Sure,
like the
so
fact
they can
that you
defend against that and stuff, right?
you can handicap experienced players with harder races. So I don't know. I think there's a lot there. I think it's ripe for a good expansion that would really blow it up. And it just spreads out on the table. Looks really cool, even though there's no board. That's the other hard thing. There's no board, so I really don't know how this works, because I don't have a board where I'm going to place my work. I don't have, and you do everything simultaneously for the most part. So that's also very cool.
That's somewhat terrifying for those folks out there that like their procedural games and their step-by-step stuff
Correct.
and everything.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a challenge with
Yep.
our group, but
Yeah, it
a
is.
challenge in a good way, I think.
I would recommend, and I think you can get it done in under 3 hours on a first play. I don't know how many you're planning on playing with the first time.
In a perfect world, it would be 4 because, you have the 4 beginner races.
Right.
But worst comes to worst, if we did 5, I would do like you, since I'm the one reading the rule book. I would take that 5th race and go from there.
I think from the first play, I think 4 would be too few. I think this will excel at 5 or 6 players. And I think
All
it'll
right.
be
Cool.
crazy at anything over 6, although it could be fun at 7. You don't know. But 8 or 9, I don't know how you would do the trading at 8 or 9. It would be like the floor of the stock exchange with people.
Well, it's either that or something like an advanced Civ to where you set a timer, like, okay, this round of trading's 10 minutes. Boom.
The
done,
rules
go.
suggest that anyway. I mean, you should
Oh,
probably
right. Yeah,
be
yeah,
ready
yeah.
to get a timer out, especially if you have people taking a long time. But I would also say if you could plan it for a night where you can get both those games or 2 games in and play it twice in a row, I think that would be a huge benefit. I think that's
Noted.
the one mistake we made is not playing immediately again. But we figured we didn't want to go 3 hours. We wanted something for 2 hours, and we ended up going 3.5 with The Godfather. So that was a mistake.
And how was that?
Moving on.
Briefly. Okay. Right. That's I'll be honest. That's a game that I have zero interest in to begin with, that I expected it to be, a lot of buzz and then a lot of crickets.
Yeah, and there seem to be the crickets now. If anybody's interested, Eric and I talk about these pretty, we give them each about 45 minutes or so in our last episode. 115, is that right? I don't know. And
All right, so just go back to the last episode.
Yeah.
Easy enough,
Yeah.
right? There you go.
And I think I summed it up, and Eric agreed, is that if you've played Yido and Kill Shakespeare, this is to Blood Rage as Kill Shakespeare is to Yido.
All right. Help me.
We haven't played What's Kill Shakespeare.
Yeah,
So Kill Shakespeare
Yido,
is
we've
the
played.
same designers as Yido, and much of Kill Shakespeare is taken from Yido, similar mechanics and all that, except that it's based on an IP of a comic book. It's more of a semi-co-op with a winner, but you all have to work together, or King Richard kills you all, or whatever. And or he kills Shakespeare is what he's trying to do, and you're trying to save Shakespeare. And IDW was one of their first Kickstarters, and it was just a total mess from them, not from the designers, but from them. So in a way, it felt like the IP is there first, and you're creating a game around that IP. Obviously, it's the same thing with this Godfather game. I'm assuming they have the IP of the Godfather. Well, now we're going to get Eric Lang to create this game around it.
Sure.
Well, he did Blood Rage, so it's area control with card play and all that. So let's do a similar thing with this. Change up some things and all that. And that's what it feels like. It just doesn't feel...
Okay.
It feels like gameplay was just there to service the IP rather than like Vital's Lisboa. He doesn't have an IP, but he has a theme and something that he's passionate about, and he creates this game from the ground up, and it becomes this beautiful game because he's passionate about telling this story, and the game mechanics are in service of the game, and the story's in service of the game as well.
As opposed to the other way around.
Well, they're both in service of the game as opposed to the mechanics just
what I
being in
mean by
service
that-
to the IP.
Right. I don't want to say mailing it in or anything, but you can tell the level of passion that went in to harmonize everything together, I
Yes.
think is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, with wigs and everything. So tulips, I'm up for tulips because I learned that wigs, they're fine too, right?
Yeah, right? Who knew?
So, but that's it. That's pretty much
right.
what I've been playing, and the
Cool.
best of what I've been playing.
And that's pretty much where we're at with what we've been playing. I guess the only other thing that we really need to mention, at least on our show, is we have our patron drive starting up on Saturday,
We do.
You do?
which I'm really excited and terrified.
Same here.
Yeah, you guys are the champions of the Patreon world, so I don't think you need to be terrified.
I mean, to put it in a nutshell, I mean, I say we, but I guess we have been producing the show now since the end of May. I've been doing it full time, but I haven't been doing it as a full-time job. And what I mean by that is we've been living off of, sure, the Patreon's done pretty well, but it's not enough for us to meet our monthly nut. So we've been supplementing that with our savings, and that was intentional. We knew we were going to do that for a few months, but I'll be honest, I really am enjoying creating the show full time. I feel like the show has benefited from that, so I hope it can continue. So we'll find out. So the patron drive starts Saturday, but everybody will hear more about that. The cool thing about this is with us releasing this show on Tuesday,
It gives a heads up.
right, and it allows us to put out a pod blast later on in the week to really unpack what it is we're going to be doing. So more on that later on this week. So
get
we're
ready,
excited.
people. Get ready for this. It starts
Excited
Saturday
and terrified.
the 30th, right?
Yes, sir.
All
and we're
right.
actually kicking it off with the live stream of Forbidden Stars.
Oh man, that could just be a meltdown.
I'm telling you, it's going to be fantastic. One way or the other, it's going to be either.
There's not going to be a meltdown. So
No, I'm telling
It'll be-
you, if you want this Patreon thing to really succeed, somebody's got to hit somebody.
I'll just walk in and slap Dan and then
There it is. There it is. During Forbidden Stars. This is how Forbidden Stars goes. Boom. And that's it. And people will be donating money left and right. Hit him again.
I like the cut of your jib, sir. Dan, I apologize ahead of time, but just watch your six. That's all I'm going to say.
I understand your fear because I'm afraid to even do a Patreon because I don't want to be sitting there going, oh, yeah, Punching Cardboard. They have $15 a month coming in. So,
Which dude, we were there.
yeah.
I mean, at some point, you just got to close your eyes
and
and jump.
and just click start or go or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of other people do Patreons and they're still stuck there. You guys have you guys are you've done it. You've made that leap, you've made that jump, you're making the content, and I hate using that word content.
I do too.
You're
We're
doing the
media.
work. You're just doing the
Right.
work and you're having the fun and you're creating something that is extremely useful. And not just because you're friends, but I mean, there is nobody out there doing as useful work in the way you're doing it. There are a few useful tools out there.
Of
And I'm not
course.
even talking about reviews. Reviews are a subjective thing, and that's a totally different thing. But your playthroughs, the fact that you learned to speak English before you started doing these videos, Edward, I mean, fantastic. So... And you actually read rules and teach the games correctly. I don't know. I'm impressed. I'm jealous, envious, all these things. But congratulations. I have no doubt that you're going to get where you want to go with this.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. You know how much you and Eric mean to me and to us and to our show.
I know how much Eric means because you beg him to come to HeavyCon all the time. Me, he's just like, whether he comes or not, I don't
beg
care.
him because he never comes.
I know.
Whereas
right.
we don't need to beg you.
You brave
no.
the Denver airport and come to see us.
Right.
Yeah.
You're willing.
Yeah.
You've
Maybe I'll
already
stop
stepped
so
up.
people start being nice to me.
No.
Oh yeah,
don't you
because
dare.
we're all so mean to
I
you
know,
all
right?
the time.
Well, I don't know
Drama
that Will
queen.
Cut dude and that Cordero dude. I mean,
They're mean to
Oh,
everybody.
dude, wait, hold on. When we when we went to Tatanka,
I got invited to that and didn't go.
I'm just saying, I catch all the flack that they give you.
Uh-huh.
I caught it all during that. So there you go.
And then
Team
you
player.
talk
I took it
about
for
all the
team.
barbecue, and I'm like, damn, that sounds good.
Well, okay, so you were invited, so you
Yeah.
could have come.
Yeah, I feel bad about not coming. And I'm sure that Dave will give me a Labrador and Grits will give me a hard time at BGGCon. So,
I mean, but that epitomizes the greatest thing about this hobby. The games, fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even if we didn't have the games, the people
Yeah.
and the relationships, the food, and I mean, I can count on one hand the amount of games that I remember from 2, 3, 4 years ago playing, but I can count in the dozens how many times we have sat around just having a drink and cutting up and just talking about whether it's board game related or not. And that's what makes this hobby so special is the board games are just the conduit. That's all they are,
Yep.
ultimately.
yep.
It's all about the people, man. And that's what makes this hobby so amazing. And I'm grateful that we've been able to become friends, whether it's with, Labrador and Grits or you. It's no, man, this
or
is great.
you, the way you said it,
that's why
you.
Yeah, that's why we wanted to do this, right? We have fun doing this together. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and you wanted to quit your job and do something fun too.
well, there's that.
Yeah.
I it was either that or eat a bullet.
So now I'm going to give you the
light
one
of that, but
stretch goal that's going to get you over the top. That's going
What's
to make
that?
you full time without going into savings, without having to raise Matt's rent,
right,
which I would raise
which
anyway.
they would appreciate, especially
just-
since he's been sick and missed a couple days
yeah,
of work.
I would have a surcharge for germs. If you get sick, if Amanda gets sick, she can't go
Man,
to
I'm
work.
gonna have-
That's money. They
think
got
I'm gonna have
they
to
got
add
to
a-
cover that, man.
I'm going to have a codicil to the police.
But you keep talking about how you're doing this full time. So to get that final over the hump stretch goal, you got to take over editing so Amanda doesn't have to do it at all.
Yeah. Here. Okay. So here's the stretch goal for that. We get the Patreon to about $8,400 a month, then we'll both be able to do it full time, and she can keep the editing. That's how that's going to work.
Oh, okay.
That's
I see.
the stretch
I
goal.
see.
Yeah, no chance. If I ever had to edit the show,
It would sound horrible.
no, it just wouldn't be edited. Seriously, people don't appreciate. I do, and that's why I will never talk trash.
No, I just thought
we were
it's
talking-
funny when we're trying to discuss how we're going to go about this, and you just sit there and glaze over. I don't understand the words you're saying.
Oh, it was funny how you and Amanda, when we were getting started talking about, editing, how do you get it stereo to mono to, and all this stuff? And I'm like the pretty girl, I'm arm
Except
candy
you're not pretty.
Right,
So,
except
there you
that,
go, yeah.
right?
Your voice candy.
You're the pretty.
Well, when
you're
I'm
the pretty
sick.
girl if she was pretty.
Right,
Yeah, okay.
exactly.
But he
Because
is
when
pretty.
when it
Well,
comes
you-
to editing, I'm 100% ignorant. I will fully admit that.
Yeah.
And that's just fine.
But we all have our strengths. I'm not exactly sure what mine is. Outside of maybe interviewing, I think I'm doing pretty well with that. But outside that, I have no idea. So I
Sure,
appreciate that people
whatever.
even watch and listen to this stuff.
I was having beers with a guy I know who knows us through our shows, moved out here, contacted me for gaming, and we were talking about it.
Say
And
hi to Tony, by the way.
It wasn't Tony.
Okay.
It was a guy named Todd, who probably you don't know, but he's now in this area. He actually bought a house real close to me, so it's good to have somebody nearby to play games with.
Awesome.
And we were talking about a couple things, and we were talking about, he's been on the shows for a while, and we were talking about this HBO show. I forget the name of the show, but it was a 4-part documentary about Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre. And then,
I saw
Yeah.
the previews of
Can't
that
remember what
during
it was called
Game
either.
of Thrones.
Can't
so
remember what it's called either.
So
But
if you
yeah.
want to know what you're good at, he compared us each to one of those two guys. And
God.
and it made sense to me. So
Okay, so I'm Jimmy and you're Dre.
pretty much what
Yeah,
he said. I
right.
thought, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've got the chops, but your big skill is getting it done. Is just getting it done.
I live by the adage, and it sounds smarmy, I think, when you say it, but I live by the adage, always be hustling. And hustling, not a negative connotation, not like used car salesman hustling,
No.
just
It's always working, never stop.
Yeah.
until things get to where I want them to be. And I'll be honest, there is not like a end point. I don't know how to not be.
But you can do it
hungry.
shamelessly. Whereas I can hustle, but then I get the Irish Catholic guilt comes in. I'm going, I don't want to impose. I'm sorry. I don't listen to us. Don't download it. I'm really sorry. I don't want to take up. This show's going to take up 4 hours of their time. I don't want to take up 4 hours of your time. I know you've got better things to do, and that's me. And you're like, oh, dude, this is the greatest 4 hours in the face. We get this out. We're going to get a
really
gold
funny?
record, and then we're going to move on, and we're going to take over this industry. We're going to kick ass over here. It
But
was
you would
like at HeavyCon. I brought my stupid game to play with Labrador and Grits and Will Cut and a couple other guys who played it at BGG Con. I figured I'm going to pull it out once. We're going to play it. You're like, well, we got a guy here. here. I need to get him over and play this so that this guy might sign it and so on and so. I had no illusions or any of that stuff. And you're working it behind the scenes, not even your thing. But that is stuff that I never would have done.
Isn't that what you do for friends? Isn't that what you do for friends?
I'm not saying that it's not, but I'm just telling you that's the difference. So I do the Dre part where I'm doing all the creative part, and you're like, oh yeah, it's creative, it's good. And I'm going to be creative about getting this thing to a table in everybody's house, and that's what you did. So in 2029, this will be on everybody's table.
Dude, I'm so stoked about that. I it's funny when I heard that episode and you talking about it, man, I was near tears. Seriously,
laughing at me.
Shut up. I was in tears for sure.
That I was so excited. Oh yeah, dude, it was a big deal.
Yeah.
So people didn't hear how nervous I was. There are a few things in my life that I have experienced where I was more nervous than that. Like that was top 5 most nervous I've ever been in my life, including being in boot camp in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Truly. And here's why. Because here I am asked to show this game, not by you, but asked by Eagle, by Alex, to show them the game. I mean, even though he got a chance to play it at HeavyCon, he wanted me to show him the game, so his production team and everything there at Origins. And dude, that's somebody else's baby. That like if I screw this up, that it's possible that I butcher it so bad that everyone's like, wow, that is horrible. Why would you even bring this? And do you know how much pressure that is? How terrifying that was for me? Ask Amanda.
Mm-hmm. He was a mess.
Oh, it was horrible.
Well, you should have called me before and I would have told you, don't worry about it. Just
shut up. Whatever. Exactly. There's that Catholic guilt.
It's not that big of a deal. You just go and do it.
The funny thing is, so you're talking about how, hustle this, hustle that, always working this and that. But dude, what people don't know, well, that's not true. I think some of our listeners realize this. How much self-doubt I have within myself that I am terrified of failure, terrified of it. And I'm not going to say I'm not bipolar. Let me stress that.
He is a Gemini, though.
I very much am my sign in a sense that there are days to where like I want to cry because you read something online or, for some reason things aren't well received or, something that I've been working really hard on just flops or whatever. And terrified, dude, the level of self-doubt. And it's not that I'm putting on some kind of false confidence or anything. I have an inner circle of people, which present company included, obviously Amanda, you, Travis, Brandon, other folks that I can really let my guard down and really tell, my legitimate fears of it not working out. And so I think that's part of what keeps me as hungry and as driven as it does is I am terrified of, being the kid and having my dad tell me, yeah, I knew you'd never make it. I knew you'd never succeed. So that's always in the back of my head. So I'm always terrified of that.
You've got that drive and you're terrified of failure, which I think is people in the minority. God, we're getting philosophical here.
Seriously, we're going super deep on this, aren't we?
If I diagnosed myself, I would think that maybe I'm more in the majority, and I think that's the difference. The difference between creatives who are able to do the hustling and be a little shameless about things. You're more terrified of failing. So if I really had to, gun to my head, I would say, well, I'm probably terrified of succeeding. A lot of people stop because they're terrified of actually succeeding. So, I bring the game out and people like it. Oh, well, then I'm responsible to go forward. Am I not? Or I just put it on a shelf and people say, well, where is that thing? Bring it out again, right? So as opposed to when nothing's on the line, you don't have to worry about succeeding or failing. But when you got things on the line, you go one way or the other. And I don't know, Travis could probably tell us more about this from his introvert
I think you're
situation.
probably spot on that. Yeah.
But what I think some of the introverts don't understand is us extroverts, we have the same fears. We just
big time.
And we feel the same ways about things, and we don't understand when a lot of introverts tell us, "Oh, I'm introverted." Yeah, well, then why do you engage so easily? We feel like there's no difference in all that. So everybody has the fears. Everybody's walking around looking at everybody else in their underwear for the most part, imagining, "Oh, how ugly are these people in their underwear? I can handle them." We're all doing it. And no, I don't know anybody who's just easily says, well, no, I don't want to go down that road. But the people who don't have the fear and think that they're the greatest thing in the world, they're the people we don't want to be around.
There's something to be said for that. And the fascinating part about this to me is, I know me, I know you. We're both real genuine guys, but the way we come across is completely, or I guess our fears are so diametrically opposed to one another that yet you and I are very similar in the way we are, just our personalities. And and they're both sincere, but they're completely 180 out. I think that's crazy. How weird are people? Mm-hmm. How weird are we?
And then everybody thinks
really
we're just
weird.
Jerks. So
right. Well, there's that. Well, there's some out there that just will not be convinced
they're 6'3"
otherwise.
and they're forward and direct, so they must be jerks, right? So
and the funny thing is us extroverts, there are days to where I really need a lot of a break from people.
Oh God, yes, yeah. There's times when I see people post on Twitter about, I have this and this and that. I'm like, dude, I'm feeling the exact same way you're feeling. So I don't think you're actually that much different than us. So
and the funny thing about that is like a lot of people don't think that about us extroverts. Like we just go, like we're the Energizer Bunny and we don't ever need that downtime. And man, that is such a misnomer.
Yeah,
but
here's Jim. Let's wind his organ. Let's get him to clap. There's times I feel like, oh, am I here to entertain you? Okay. Let's have him do another rant. Let's get him all off on a rant or anything, So, really, there are times people just on demand, hey, come on, give me a rant. All right. Can we just play the game? I'm just going to take this move here, if that's okay with you, and I'll be quiet, planning my next turn. Now, if I really have to entertain, I guess I will, but I'm hoping that we can just, have a nice, quiet game this time around, because I'm 3 scotches in, I'm kind of mellow.
Right. So, I remember that night you and I sitting around in your living room, just chilling, talking about life.
That was a great weekend. That was way too short, man.
I agree. We will have to remedy that.
Yes,
but dude, did this take a left turn or what? Let's get these people into talking about or hearing about Essen. They don't want to hear anything about this, do they anymore?
Who's left listening? We should probably, get them into Essen at this point.
5-hour episode.
Yeah, 4-hour episode.
They're going to call us Secret Cabal West.
Well, we could always cut it in half again. That whole idea to cross promote, or we could just not annoy people and leave it all.
I think we probably ought to not annoy people. Yeah. And so we should explain that to folks that we discussed. How do we release this, right? To help out both shows, right? Do we release like the first half on one show and the second half on another show or something like that?
And
or
then Eric got the spreadsheet out and did the deltas and figured out all the formulas and the algebra. And then Jim, the guy who's the jerk, said, why would we annoy people splitting it up?
That would just piss people off. Mm-hmm. Like, really? You want me to subscribe to that other show?
Right. Right.
Other show coming from either direction, right?
Yeah. The 3,000 from yours and the 1 from ours who don't want to go the other way. Exactly. I'm looking out for those people.
Hey, I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yeah, they don't.
So, Amanda, you want to lead us into Essen?
I wasn't there, and I was asleep in another room as opposed to last year when I was asleep at the microphone. So enjoy the boys talking about Essen and what games we're looking forward to playing and getting and talking about and seeing.
Big thank you to our sponsor, BoardGameTables.com. If you're in the market for a customized, one-of-a-kind board game table, go check them out, BoardGameTables.com.
Okay, we're good. We're in. We're on. There's music. It's like our show, not your show, where you have
Right.
a proper introduction because
So
your
why
wife
is it
not
again
there.
that you guys aren't going to Essen?
Oh, this is a surprise question. We didn't talk about this
Why
at
aren't
all.
we going
Why
to
aren't we going to
Essen?
Essen? Who the hell wants us at Essen?
No, what you want? Do you want to go to Essen?
You know,
Sure, someday.
sure, someday.
Oh,
Probably
okay,
in
so
May
hold-
or June.
All right,
but
well,
I'm
first
being
off,
serious, 'cause
first off, oh, go ahead because we've done our introductions on our own show. But go ahead, we'll get there. This is show. You can't do that, by the way. You
What?
cannot sit there and laugh and move off the mic and laugh.
Oh no, no,
Because
yeah,
then
yeah.
people
Oh,
are
no,
wondering,
usually
what's
when
the
I'm-
dead
when I'm
space?
laughing-
Well, that's
when
Edward
I'm
laughing under his
it's
table.
quiet.
He disappears out of the screen on the Skype
right,
thing,
all right,
and
I
he's
won't.
under his table there. All right, go ahead.
So hey, I'm Edward. Hi, I'm Heavy Cardboard.
That's Edward from Heavy Cardboard. I'm Jim from Punching Cardboard, and you are who?
I'm Eric from Punching Cardboard.
Okay.
guys.
Do we have any baristas in here today?
No, I left them at
baristas.
home.
Okay,
They were
you left
tired
them at
after the
home.
list generation activities.
And
And speaking of list generation activities, how long did it take you
Oh.
to put together your lists?
I was 10 a.m.
I'll let you know when I'm done.
10 a.m. to 6:30.
Okay, so
6:30.
my 8 hours today isn't
Yeah.
abnormal.
I
That-
didn't
that
do
makes
that.
me feel better.
I didn't do it like him. He was supposed to do it, and then he was supposed to get over here around 2, and we were going to play a game. How'd that work out?
Yeah, he was like, "You should just quit on your list.
Yeah, just
It's not that important. Don't make a good list. Come over and play a game."
no,
To which I
hold
turned on
on.
the do not disturb on my phone.
Hold on here.
Oh, Eric took this real serious.
Last night, what did we say last night? What did you say last night? Hey, can we play that I'm making a president tomorrow afternoon? I can be here around 2.
I
Can
did,
we play
yeah,
that?
yeah,
Did
I
you say
say-
that?
I did, but
All
I
right.
didn't know what I was about to get into. I mean, 10 a.m. poured the coffee, opened the list. It's like, oh my god, I got
Yeah,
a lot
so
of
did
work
I.
to
And then
do.
at about 2 p.m., I had 25 or so on the list. And I said, I'll figure it out while we're on the air. And, I'm ready to play a game. Where are you? So
Too funny.
simple as
I
that.
ended up with something like 135 through a first pass.
Okay, yeah.
Kind of. And then narrowed it down from there. There are some legitimate games that are not going to make the top 10 this year.
You guys are hilarious because I started and there was like 3 after my first pass. Really? I got to grow.
There are
this
going to be
list.
many that don't make it that should have, but there's also
Right. That's all
there's
I'm
kind
saying.
of a level
right?
of disappointment with this year's list. I'll say.
So
but
Essen.
Essen.
So-
he wants to know Essen again. We're back on Essen.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Are you just rubbing it in that you get to go and we don't?
Not a
Okay.
stop. It's not a you get to go. Now, hold on.
Well,
I found a flight for Amanda and I,
Yeah.
round trip,
Yeah.
to and from Amsterdam.
yeah.
Because we had a couple extra days that she was able to manipulate a day off here for work on this end and a day off on the other end. So we ended up leaving a couple days early. So we're leaving the Friday before Essen, but $475 round trip to Amsterdam
that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
from Denver.
That's not bad at all. Frontier?
I mean that, huh?
Frontier?
No, Lufthansa.
Oh, that's not bad at
Oh,
all.
that's good.
Not
yeah.
at all. And, it's like a 14-hour flight there with a stop in a 3.5-hour layover in Munich. And then a 15-hour flight back with a 2.5-hour layover in Munich. And that's it. So it's from Amsterdam to Munich to Denver straight, and then vice versa, or the opposite, whatever. And the reason I'm asking, $475 round trip. We were sharing a condo with folks for 150 euros per person for 5 nights. That's $30 a night or 30 euros a night. So it's not, when people think, Essen is this huge grail, bucket list type thing. And I'm like, dude, Gen Con is way more expensive
Oh, yeah.
to go
Yeah.
to.
And it's not for you because you're flying from a hub. when we come out of here, we got to go through your hub or somebody's hub to get where we're going.
I suppose that
There's
does
nothing
help.
direct from
Sure.
here to get to Gen Con or Origins or any of that, which is another reason why I haven't gone to those.
That makes sense.
Plus, I'm going to take a guess you fit in a coach seat. Or they've had you in the cargo hold.
I'll be honest. That is a yes. We do fly coach. You ain't flying business class for 475 round trip.
No.
I'll tell you that.
No. Yeah. Plus,
But it's all about how motivated are you to get there. So I
Now there's
applaud
that.
you for
I mean,
that
because
effort.
ultimately it's a trade fair, right? I mean, that's what Spiel or Essen is. It's
Right.
all about buying games.
right.
Yep.
But, also our dog and pony show over here is us screwing around, drinking whiskey, talking about a game and some music and stuff. Whereas you're putting, you put Tom Vassell to shame.
Will you
So-
stop, Jim?
So, I mean, we don't need to go to Essen. I think for us, something like BGG Con or something where we're actually playing
no, it's
games
do you
seems to make more
want to
sense.
go to Essen? I guess ultimately,
If
is
you're
the
buying,
question.
I'll fly.
I reckon you would.
So that'll be a stretch goal on your upcoming Patreon drive.
Get Jim and Eric to Essen with us.
Jim and Eric. Well, Eric won't go.
Well, I'm going to take baby steps. I'm going to try to make it to HeavyCon next year.
Well,
wait, I
you
think
gotta get that
I
far
think we
last
heard
year.
about that last
Yeah,
year.
you got to crawl
Yep.
before
Yeah.
you can walk.
And
I
what
know
happened?
we've heard this
What
before.
happened? What happened?
All right. Well, hey, 2 words. Show me.
All right.
Okay. All right, Mr. Skullcap and Beard. All right, what's going on? And what are we doing first here? We've now bored the hell out of both audiences. They don't know. They've all gotten off here, and they're over on the low player count stream at the moment. They said, "Screw these guys. I'll play solo games." So
I thought it'd be fun to take a look back at
How
our top
bad we
10
were
lists
last year.
from last year.
all right.
So I don't know if these are good or bad. Like there are actually a couple of these that I never did end up getting played on my list. And so I don't know, you guys want to, briefly go over?
That
Sure,
sounds great.
let's do it.
Yeah,
Go
let's
for
do
it.
it.
Oh, I go for it, Jim. Start us off.
Oh, my list? All right,
Sure.
my list. I'm looking at it here on our screen, and I had number 1. What did I have number 1? Innis? Did I have
Innis, yep.
Innis, number 1? Yeah, that got played. Is it a number 1? I don't think it's a number 1 anymore. It seems a little lighter than I expected, although I think there's something there for it still. Adrenaline, I moved to 2 for some reason. Very light, fun, nothing much. Fields of Despair, big
the
chunky
one time I
number
played
3.
the one time I played Adrenaline, it was fine. It was fun. It was enjoyable.
Yeah,
but
it was enjoyable.
yeah,
I thought
yeah,
it was going to be
yeah.
a little bit more than it was, though. I thought it would be a little bit more of the feel of running around on a shooter.
Gotcha.
On a board or something. Number 4 was Crisis. I have not played that yet. I tried to steal a copy that was in shrink, doing nothing on your shelves. When I left HeavyCon, you wouldn't let me steal it, so I haven't played
For
it.
the record, the reason it's in shrink is because we had the prototype and we ended up playing that for all of our plays.
Yeah,
So
and you
we
don't
didn't
like
get-
it, so send it to me.
Oh, hush! It's not that we don't like it. So hold on, Fields of Despair. I know you're a big fan. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're number 3.
That was my number 3. Yeah, that could
Yep.
have been number 1 last year, but I moved that down a little bit. Adrenaline, actually, I remember pushing it up during the broadcast, going, that's my flyer. This one could be a lot of fun. There were 2 flyers on the list, if I remember right. Age of Thieves, which ended up 9, which you kindly brought me a copy of from
Well, that's what
Essen
you do
last
for
year.
friends, right?
Yeah, and Adrenaline. And possibly number 5, The Exiled Siege, which hasn't gone over that well, was incredibly expensive, did not get a copy. It went on sale for fairly reasonable price on Fun Again, and I just didn't pull the trigger on it.
Gotcha.
BIOS Genesis. Ooh, The Colonists plus Ultra, which is probably the nicest surprise of the bunch. That is just a nice, tight little Euro that plays heavier than it is, I think.
I totally agree with that. Yes.
And Ava Roma, which I have not gotten a copy of, nor have had a chance to play. And I wanted to play that at HeavyCon, but I didn't get in a game of that because people were bugging me about my own game.
Oh yeah,
So-
which has subsequently been signed. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Ave Roma was a big disappointment for
Was
us.
it? Really?
Yeah, it really was. I was super, super excited about it. I was all jonesing, like I got a copy at Essen. Awesome. Came back. Matt got a copy because he backed the Kickstarter, and then we played it, and it got voted in as a game of the month. So you're talking, 4 or 5 plays on a Monday or a Friday. I forget which day of the week it was going to be. After 2 plays, everybody was like, so do we want to move on to the next game? So yeah, so
Our game of the month is whatever picked up that morning. So
That's right. We have 30 per month.
but yeah, so Ave Roma ended up being a big disappointment for us.
I don't think
which is
I've
a
ever
bummer.
seen Ave Roma in traditional retail setting.
no, it never.
I mean, we visit a lot of the
shops
shops here in town. I've always, I've kind of looked for that one to show up. I went through a period where it was like, oh man, I'd like to get my hands
I
on
don't
that.
think it came over here to
I've
any
never
of the
seen
online
it,
or
so-
anything.
yeah, and
I
I,
don't
wasn't
think
ever
it
motivated
did.
to go seek it out.
I think it was.
And on top of that, you guys have some really great stores in Portland, man. You guys have some amazing FLGSs.
Yeah, I mean, we have some nice small ones, and we have a big one that has everything, although they're not always great with their pricing if they know they're the only one getting it. That's a little annoying, I think.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, this is hot. Well, what are we going to bump this up to? And I just don't like that kind of gamesmanship in a store. I understand why people might do it, but it doesn't look good, I don't think. Overall, I think my 1 to 10 is a pretty solid list of games, though. There's no Colonist was number 7. I would say the biggest disappointment out of the ones I played is BIOS Genesis.
all right. I think that's
Because
that's
it's
fair looking at that.
Not
Sure.
really a game, is it?
It's an experience.
Yeah. So, and it took forever to get it to play. So,
Oh, dude, that game still terrifies me.
Yeah.
That's a game that the rules intimidate the ever living hell out of me.
all right, that was my 10. You want to go, Edward? You want to do yours, and we'll say
Sure.
Sir
Yeah.
Sir
So-
Eric's for last.
I didn't do I did mine alphabetically
Yeah,
last year.
after-
I changed it for this year.
Well,
so I
no,
don't get catch out.
no. We didn't change it. It was supposed to be 1 to 10, and we got there, and you're like, yeah, I didn't do a 1 to 10. Okay.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go through mine real quick. So The Arrival, the Martin Wallace reskin or reimagining, I guess,
I played
of
that
Mordred.
once.
That was fine. Not great.
Yeah.
It
was
was
there.
fine.
It existed.
Next was Barcelona, the Rose of Fire.
We had our
That
experience with that at BGG Con. We played
We
that
did.
together.
That
We
was-
learned that together.
That was a bit of a disappointment to say the least. Yeah, not good.
So you could say those
Bio-
were number 10 and number 9 on your unnumbered
Sure.
list.
There you go. BIOS Genesis. Well, we kind of already touched base on that. The Colonist was on here, so there's a winner. Okay, good. Great Western Trail. Solid, good game. The next 2 I haven't played. Pax Pamirs Kyber Knives. I didn't get to the expansion. Haven't tried it yet. So have you guys?
No.
Have not played that. no.
I don't think I can
Okay.
get him to play
I don't know
Pax
if I
Pamir ever
would play
again.
that. But,
Okay. All right.
but the next
The
one,
next
however,
one-
I have played.
The next one was a disappointment because this was one of 5 games that somehow mysteriously disappeared between my bringing or getting them at What's Your Game and them arriving here in the States. 5 games disappeared, and the next one is one of them, and that's Phalanx from Bernd Eisenstein, the same guy that did Peloponnese, as well as
Peloponnese, the card game.
right.
Panthalos.
Thank you, Panthalos.
Yeah,
I couldn't think of the
Panthalos.
name. There you go. So, unfortunately, I didn't pick up a second copy, so I can't speak to that. And then the last 2 are Solarius Mission and Tramways. So, pretty solid list, I think, overall. Pretty
Yeah.
happy with the way that turned out.
Yeah.
I did have 3 that were off the beaten path. The Flow of History, which was fine. It wasn't as good as what I'd hoped for a Civ game. It really wasn't
Yeah.
a Civ game.
I saw you guys playing that at BGG, and you were kind of like, it's all right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
And the other 2 were The Fog of War and Ninja Arena, which I saw briefly at Essen, and I've never heard another word about.
So the Fog of War.
You have
this
the
was,
Fog of
This
War,
was the one
don't
where we
you?
had the Fog of War and Fog of War.
Yeah.
So is this
Exactly.
the little wooden tank game, or is this
Exactly. No, it's the
It is.
little wooden tank game.
It's not the
Yes.
Jeff Engelstein Stronghold Fog of War,
Correct. The one that ends up on your list.
which is
right.
on my list, also called the Fog of War. So.
Ah.
But I'll make that distinction.
All right.
So overall, pretty happy with the way that list turned out, I think.
Yeah,
Some solid.
two
some
solid
solids
lists.
on
How
there.
about yours? Did yours hold up?
Oh yeah, this is the best. We saved the best for last.
Save the
Number
best for
one,
last.
no mistaking, Feast for Odin at the top of the list. So this actually was a pretty fun game this year. It did get a good number of plays. I think I got a dime out of it. I know Jim did. We played it together. Mostly I played it solo.
Which is the way you should play it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tried to play it with Tina. I thought, well, this is kind of a low tension, puzzly game. Maybe she'll like it. No, she slapped it off the table. But I've enjoyed it solo, but I have found that, if I have time for a solo game as of late with Lisboa, other good games, sometimes I think of a Feast for Odin and it's not coming down off the shelf. So it kind of ran its course. I think mostly because the central action board is fixed and it just gets a little bit stale with, okay, well,
Very
this time,
samey. Yep.
yeah, right. I mean, I do like the puzzle board, but whatever. Okay, Solarius Mission, number 2, the best rule book of the year, I must say. The clearest rule book I've read.
Very funny, Eric. Very funny.
No, but a solid game, solid dice
We
drafting.
still love Uli.
Yeah, and it was a good game, so I
Yeah.
felt good about that. 3, it was Martians, a story of civilization. I think this was
Whatever
like a
happened to that,
Polish
man?
designer. I'd never
It
played it.
is, and there's actually a copy of it downstairs. We just haven't gotten to it. We got it out to the table.
Okay.
I'd heard horror stories about how bad the rule book was.
Right.
So I got all mentally prepared to go through it. And then life happened, and we ended up putting it back into the box.
This
and
was a bit of a flyer for me, and I think the thing that sort of made me subsequently pull back on it was it's a co-op, a semi-co-op, and a competitive game. You can play it any way you want. And it was kind of like, well, I don't know how that'll turn out. It'll be like a minivan of games trying to be everything to everyone.
Turn out like 504 or 40, whatever that game
Yeah,
is.
it could be. I don't know, but it didn't get played. 4 was Democracy Under Siege, which
Did you ever
I
get
think
it?
we were duped by a little bit. I don't know if this was actually published. I see it's on the list again this year. It looks like it's in a different format. Than it was last
it's
year.
finally ready to
Yeah.
be published, and it's actually dropping at Essen this
See,
year,
that's
legitimately.
I told you he's going to have all kinds of information we don't
Yeah,
have.
so it looks like, well, it does look like it's, been pared down a bit from what it was. So I think my interest levels dropped some, but this never came out as a published game that we could buy. Number 5 was Days of Ire, Budapest, 1956. So this was a Kickstarter game that was coming out around Essen. I got it. It was a pretty good, solid solo game. I mean, it's kind of got a pandemic mechanic to it, but it's a card-driven, spend cards to play other cards, which is a mechanic I really enjoy. Tried
Jim's
to play.
shaking his head, though.
Well, I'm
like,
shaking my
hasn't
head
played it. He hasn't
because
even
I haven't
looked
played
at
it
it.
because he buys them and okay, it goes on the list, and then by the time we get together and play, it's been moved down to spot 12 because there's 10 new ones in front of it, so it's gotten
Well, he
buried.
laughed when I said the name
I
of the.
want to play it, but I'm laughing because I got a copy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
what
it
he laughed at.
disappears,
It's
man.
like, yeah, I got the game.
I will
And then
say
he's
that
like,
you two make the most adorable couple, though. You really
Oh,
do.
Yeah.
Jesus!
Well,
All right, all right.
it's the era for it. So
The
yeah,
man's doing a solo podcast on his end, and he can. Okay, I got it.
I tried playing this one with Tina, and sometimes I don't know if it's like our dynamic in some games, so I don't really want to judge the game. I'd rather play with Jim, I think, but it was good as a solo game. Okay, then Great
all right.
Western Trail. So this one, it kind of hit on all cylinders, but it was kind of like bubble gum or something. I mean, it was like the first 5 or 6 plays, man, this is great, but it just kind of fell off the map after 5 or 6
It
plays.
does have a bit of, like, I've noticed no one is super jonesing to get
Right.
it back to the table.
Everybody
with our group.
rode the wave, and then the wave ended,
Yeah.
and people went, okay.
And it was
Yep,
it was
time to move
good.
on.
But
I
you
can't
know, it's
really
one
say
that
what was wrong with it.
I think
but
it'll stay on your shelf.
yeah,
I mean,
for a
pull out
while.
once in a while, and you go, "Oh, this is good again," and play it.
took
a
it to
couple
work.
times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I took it to
and
work
that's
thinking-
that's That's why people who like, oh, if I haven't pulled it down off the shelf in 6 months, then I get rid of it. Now, I might want to play it in a year or two. I'm okay with having a bigger collection. I'm okay with that.
Yep. I took it to work thinking I might get it on the table there, but that was wishful thinking.
Is that seems like an ambitious game to bring to like a work environment.
He's a CEO. They'll do whatever he tells them.
It's an entry-level Euro to these people. They better play it.
Or they're fired.
It's good to be the king.
Yeah. Okay, then 7 was, I guess, Fog of War, not the Fog of War. This was the Engelstein bluffing European World War II game, Axis and Allies type theme, not like the game.
Which
Axis
you also
and
picked up and said, hey, I got this one. And I said, yeah, cool, let's play it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I've just dusted that baby last week. It's still there on the shelf, but it hasn't been played. But I'm still interested in it. Inish, number 8. That turned out to be like probably my most hated game of the year. I just did not like that. It did not sit well with me.
So he's got the segment of the when things go bad that he has with his wife, and his first play of it, we're playing, and things
Tina
are
was
going
there,
bad
of
for
course.
him, and his wife is sitting next to us. We're at a game store, and he just bought it. He's like, oh, let's open it and play it. Can you teach? I'm like, yeah, we teach it. And he about 4 turns in, things aren't going the way he thinks they should be going, and he's stewing, and she's on the phone call, and she just looks over, and she just starts laughing at him. And then she gets off her phone call and says, that's funny. You're doing what I do.
All right, so we'll move on from that. It's gone to the auction pile. Number 9 is Crisis. So we talked about that. So when you send that over, include the Martians: A Story of a Civilization copy.
Yes, sir.
We'll do it. Okay.
Or when you guys come for HeavyCon, we can bust these out there.
Yeah, let's do that.
I seem to have been at heavy cons where it didn't get busted out.
Well, I'm sorry, mister. I had to play my prototype a million times.
No, I didn't. It was requested. That wasn't my plan. None of what happened at your HeavyCon was my plan. You had a plan. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know you had a plan, but I didn't have a plan.
All right, so number 10, Tramways, Rock Solid. And then I had a few extras, The Colonists. I played it solo. I'd like to play with more players because I think there's a little bit of a subtle interaction there with blocking and things that you clearly don't see in the solo game. I'd like to play it, but I have found with that one that it's kind of an all or nothing. It's like 4 eras or nothing. I'm not really interested.
I would be inclined to agree with you with one caveat. I would say that after you get a couple games under your belt and you're comfortable with how the first couple of eras go, that I would recommend trying to, I forget what the real term is, but simulate the first 2 eras and then play the 3rd and the 4th. Try that.
Per the rules? You just simulate it per the rules and it works well. Okay. 12 was PAX Renaissance. Would love to play it. Still interested. Loved Ash's rules teaching of that on your channel. He did a great job. Still want to play it.
All this.
13, the Oracle of Delphi. Oh, yeah. Nailed that one.
Seeing as we're only supposed to do a top 10, you're nailing things right now.
Far East War, 1592. Never played it. 15, Railroad Revolution, which I found to be quite fun, although light, but it was great with my sister, who's not a gamer.
To be fair, you also found Lorenzo Il Magnifico to be quite fun.
Oh, that was grand, yes. Yeah. That was the surprise.
Yeah. So You're right, Edward.
Lorenzo.
A little bit left over from being sick.
Trying to keep down dinner.
Still sick a little bit.
So all in all, it was a decent list.
It was the third best list by objective standards.
There's a couple misses there and a couple unplayed, but
I think we all have a few. I mean, inevitably, there's going to be misses because all this is done on limited information, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're going to have more this year, though. I'm pretty sure you have more information this year than you had last year.
You'd be surprised, but not really. But we'll get into it.
Until you've played the games, it is a little bit of a blind shot.
So then, if we all played the games, this would be a review list, like at the end of the year when we do that.
Right. So a couple misses are fine.
A preview list.
That's
okay.
right.
Right.
So without Amanda to move us along, I guess it's up to me, huh? Yeah, how's that going to work out?
Yep, herding cats.
That was a good, 25 minutes or so of a review. That could have taken 5. So what do we want to do? How do we want to do it? We each have a top 10 list. Do we have, Eric says he's got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4 also rans, plus level 6, which is expansions. And
that's a separate level.
That's a separate level.
Well, I can't really fault him because I have a couple of in those.
You know how to do it, Edward.
So here's how I broke down mine. All right, is I have a list of about 15 games that are not on mine because I feel like they didn't qualify for the main reason being they're either a reprint. So I kept all reprints off my list, as well as games that either have been limited releases up to this point, and I have a copy already that I am not physically going and picking up a copy at Essen, or something like that. So I had a list of that. And then kind of like last year, I have these off the beaten path. Like, I really want to check these out, but these are going to be like super obscure stuff. But I figure people kind of enjoy hearing about this off the wall stuff. So throw that at the end. But other than that, I mean, I did pare it down to 10, but man, I have a list here of like 40 games, and legitimately there are 10 more that could have been on this list.
Well, they could be on our lists.
Hopefully we'll see how it goes. I'm really curious. Now, we have not shared any of our lists.
No.
So this will be fun to find out.
Do we want to just do the top 10s and then after that discuss any games that missed the list?
I think so.
Expansions, or do we want to? Yeah, because then if we start throwing in also rans now, then somebody will go, well, it's on my list. All right.
Yeah.
So, and as we do this, are we going to say, like, if somebody's number 10 is somebody's number 2, do we just hold up our hand and just say?
Just go with it. We'll talk about it then.
Talk about it again.
If it's my number 2, if it's my number 2, I'll be like, yeah, we talked about it back then. Whatever.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So then if we get to the ones and they've all been talked about, that's very anticlimactic.
Okay, the one being the exception. How's that? Fine.
But then if we make that exception, people know it's going to be the number 1. Very unsuspicious.
Just go. Edward had the right idea. We're going with Edward's approach.
Oh, my Lord. I don't know how you do it, Eric. I don't know how you do it.
Hey, I got you here now. It's 2-on-1. We're doing Edward's approach.
You know what? I could be done with this. You could join their show, and I could, go on with my life doing something else.
All right, Jim, why don't you start us off?
I'll have Dinger teach me how to make dice trays, and I'll just make dice trays. And we'll start a company.
Edward, you start.
Why do I have to start? All right. I got to moderate. I got to start. I got to record. I got to edit.
You're ready to talk clearly.
Why don't I just do this all by myself?
Is Jim in the mic?
Jeez. Am I in the mic? Number 10. Number 10, I'm going to say the name of the game, and Eric's going to go, yeah, that's on my list. That's up the way a little bit, so why don't we talk about that later? This is how I start, because I knew you guys were going to make me start. And number 10 is the Gaia Project.
Also on mine.
That's on my list, yeah.
So
go for it.
Go for it?
Yeah.
It's the Gaia Project. It's Terra Mystica in space, right?
That's a start.
Yeah.
That's
So I'm gonna defer this one to you. And I think when we get to you talking about it, I think we're gonna go better because this is your boy.
Nobody
this
listening
is your
can hear
game.
you pointing.
This is your game.
Eric.
Edward. I don't know. Some guy whose name starts with an E. I don't care. No, this is your game, Eric.
All right. So Jim, that's your number 10.
That's going to be my number
7,
10.
and later up on Eric. So we'll cover that later.
Right.
Fine.
That's right.
Eric, go for it. You're 10.
All right.
All
My
right.
number 10.
Edward's now moderating.
The Mr. Potato Head of my list
Potato Pirates
is Wendake, which is a game from Danilo Sabia. Artist is Alan D'Amico and Paolo Valerga, and it's published by Placentia Games.
See, now
So this is the first thing that caught my eye because Placentia, as I was looking through this list, I mean, I was kind of struck by 3 disappointments from the Essen list. Number 1, there's 800 games, but only 100-ish that I would even consider looking at. So it's like, wow, that's only a 12.5% hit rate. That's not great. Second, there are a lot of reprints, a lot of reimplementations. That was another theme I saw on the list. Setting aside that I saw millions of games that were 5 minutes or less, or the 10-minute co-op. I have no interest in. And third, of course, I was disappointed by no Brazil from Paulo and Nuno. I know it's coming, and I'm sure the fact that it's delayed is going to make it that much better. So I'm happy about that.
Oh, maybe you haven't heard, because legitimately, I know you've been busy in real life. So Brazil's actually getting kickstarted later this year.
That's
and
right.
The reason, because it's the folks at What's Your Game, Veronica and Mariano, decided, you know what? This game needs to be a bigger game, and it's bigger than what they can publish on their own. And so they decided to go to Kickstarter. So that's supposed to start up sometime. I want to say they're shooting, I think last I heard, around November timeframe.
That's the start of the Kickstarter, roughly?
I think so, yeah.
So I remember in your conversation with them, you were asking them questions about, has there ever been a game you couldn't produce because it wasn't practical and things like that?
Right.
I hadn't quite gotten to the Brazil discussion, but I presume you circled back on that. So, but yeah, that's good news. But anyway, this Wendake, which is unrelated sort of to those three things I just said, my three disappointments, it is related in the sense that Placentia has been a game company that
Are we still here?
has managed to pull things off for me in the past. I mean, they do things a little bit different. Last year, Kepler 3042 wasn't my favorite game of theirs, but it was
all right.
It was legitimately like, oh, this is kind of its own thing. Britannia, which I really liked. I know you guys are more indifferent to, probably not Lorenzo level indifferent. I don't know, but
Correct.
I played it.
enjoyed it. Florenza is another one from them, so it's
Which
solid.
I enjoyed.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, they're good games. So this Wendake is a Native American themed game, which is, at least from a historical aspect, is near and dear to me. I don't feel like there's been very many good Native American central themed games, so maybe this will be it. But it takes place in the Great Lakes region, and it's a kind of area control game that's driven by a unique action selection mechanism where you get 4 actions per round. When you select an action, your subsequent actions have to be in the same row or column or diagonal to one you've already picked in this grid. After you've taken those actions, the ones you've taken, the tiles flip over to reveal different actions. And then there's a kind of refresh of this 3x3 grid where the tiles shift down and the top row can either be refreshed with the tiles that got pushed out of the bottom, or new tiles can be added. And so you start getting like different actions coming into the game. It's an area control style game. You're trying to take over territory, gather resources. There's battling with other players in the game. And I think
The
it
level
exists.
of research on this is impressive.
Yeah, he just wants to put us to shame. That's
I
all.
think this might be out because I've seen a couple videos about it. It was kickstarted. But in my rules for my list, I struggled with it. Well, if it's out, does it count? If it's a reprint, does it count? I made a few exceptions to those
Follow your
rules.
heart. In the end, I don't think anyone's going to yell at you.
Yeah, good. So that's what I did, and this one is the one that I put at my number 10 spot. So I want to try it.
It was in my top 20, so
Okay,
I'm looking
great.
forward to checking it
Yeah.
out. So yeah.
It wasn't even on my radar.
Okay.
I must have missed it.
You just started looking today, though, right?
Yeah, about an hour ago.
He didn't get
All
that far
right.
down the list.
So that's Wendake.
Wendake from
Okay.
Placentia Games.
Wendake.
That's right.
All right. So my number 10 is probably not a big surprise to anybody that follows the show. Bios Megafauna, designed by Andrew Dole, Phil Eklund, and John Manker. It's published by Phil Eklund's company, which is Sierra Madre Games. It picks up where Bios Genesis ended and is a descendant of the older Bios or Americana or American Megafauna from Sierra Madre Games. I'm intimidated by it, but I have reasonable hopes that it's more of a game than a experience or more than a simulation. I'm nervous that it won't be, and it won't be something that ever really hits the table because it is so not really a game. I kind of like how Bios Genesis is a experience, but how much of a game is it really? And that's the appeal for us with the PAX series, because all of those games very much are games with the theme on that is super, super heavy on it, but they're games. Whereas BIOS Genesis, So where does this fall? I don't know. So that's why it's number 10 and not higher.
Well, I saw people playing it at HeavyCon, and they were experienced with BIOS Genesis, and their overwhelming response to this was, hey, it's the game that BIOS Genesis should have been. So
that's exciting to hear.
So it was
that.
a game
So.
for those people at least. So yeah. That came close to making my list, but I think because of BIOS Genesis, I knocked it back a little bit. Plus,
That's
it's kind of
totally
hard to
reasonable.
get some of these games out. I mean, High Frontier, when are
Right.
we ever getting that out? So you don't stay as excited for the new ones because you've got a shelf full of the old ones that are shiny and still nice looking.
And still new, yeah.
And still
Right.
new and still need to be played a lot. So let me get to those before I get to these. But yeah, definitely interested in that.
I feel
Cool.
that same way with. I don't feel as shallow now about kind of discounting it because of BIOS Genesis, because that really
No,
was
I
like,
think
oh
that's
my
a
gosh,
reasonable thing to
Yeah.
not suffer from. That
No,
sounds that's the wrong. But
to make that
a little
association is not
apprehensive.
unreasonable.
Sure, yeah, I think that's natural.
And
right?
then the other way is, I really want to play PAX Renaissance. I think you've
I
had
have
a
that.
chance to play that.
I have it. Oh.
So, things like that. And High Frontier, I'm sitting there with PAX and High Frontier. It's like, clearly I want these on the table before I look at this evolution of the game that made me punch holes in the wall.
Yes.
that's probably a good thing
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, right.
All right, so we'll do Serpentine like we did last year.
Okay.
So I'll go
Okay.
with my number 9.
You're
which
always in the
is-
middle, Eric.
Which is a game that I actually saw a prototype of at Origins, and I'm excited about, obviously, if it's on this list, right? And that's Agra, designed by Michael Keller
Yeah, I got
and
that.
published
I got
by
that
Quintet
further
Games.
up the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead. Say
Um,
what you need to say.
All right, so it's a worker placement game with trading, resource conversion, and everything. But I'll be honest, here's the real reason that I'm looking forward to this game is it's Michael Keller. Now, for those unfamiliar with that name, Michael Keller has teamed up with Andreas Odendahl for 2 other games in the past, La Granja and Solarius Mission. This, however, is him by himself.
Correct.
So I want to see how much, where does he lie as a designer, and how much of those other games are him. And I just want to get to know who Michael Keller, the designer, is. And this is an opportunity to do that. Plus, that whole kind of tracking board, the 3D tracking
Imperial
board looks
board.
kind of cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I have it on my list. Number 9,
Number
Agra.
9, Agra. You don't have that one on your list.
It's
huh?
up there.
It's up
Yeah,
there,
It's
but
up
it
high.
didn't
All
make
right,
his list.
okay.
Oh, it's on your list.
It's on my list, yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So Eric, you're up. Number 9.
All right, number 9 in cell B8 is Elos, which
Cell
is
B8. How's
So
that
I'm
9?
looking at my spreadsheet. I'm looking
I know.
at my spreadsheet.
So
I don't know.
1 through 8
I
are
didn't
in the
align
first
the
7?
rows with my order. I mean, it just landed there in the spreadsheet, man.
Yeah, he's got. Did I not text you last night and tell you he's got a spreadsheet with the deltas, getting the averages between the points and all that?
Eric, don't ever change.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
all right.
planning on it.
How do you pronounce that and spell
I'm
it?
saying Elos, ILOS.
Okay.
And
all
it's
right.
from Frederick Gerard, artist Paul Maffeon. I'm getting all my difficult names out early here.
Edward's
And
writing it down because he hasn't heard of it.
and the-
I'm trying to figure out.
No,
if you
I
were on the
I have, but it was
2019
not.
list.
Yeah, I have heard of it, but it did not make my say top 20 or so.
Yeah, the publisher is Le Baudejoux, which is a French publisher.
Yeah.
So this game kind of drew me in. It's got a little bit of I guess depending on your perspective, the artwork may or may not attract you. I would say it maybe has a little bit of kind of a Days of Wonder. I would go as far as like a 5 Tribes type of look to it. But that's great. I love it's good artwork. It has a nice tile laying exploration aspect in the center of the table, but it mostly reminded me of like an engine building card game like Race for the Galaxy, where you pay for cards from your hand to do actions with other cards from your hand. but it has the central board component where you're trying to increase your presence, which lets you generate resources, which then lets you do more things, buy more cards, pay for more actions, and also has a commodity speculation element. So as you're gathering resources,
I'm always a fan of.
yeah, it's hidden resources going behind a screen, and then there's certain actions you can play to affect the market value of these resources that you've gathered through the game. And at the end of the game, it's just pure money, whatever your resources are worth. It didn't look like a super heavy game. It looked like probably an hour or less type of game, but it kind of struck near and dear to my heart the way Race for the Galaxy does. And I really like the spatial aspect that's been added. So
You always do
That's
well
what I
on
went
pure
for.
money games, too.
oh yeah, I love pure money. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Cool.
Elos,
All right, so that's
it. Yeah.
Elos. All right.
Elos or Elos or I don't know.
Yeah.
ILOS.
Elos.
I went through that entire list. Did you use other lists? 'Cause
These are my arc rights
I
of
must have
2018.
just passed over them because they were
2017.
surrounded by a bunch of 15-minute card games.
Probably. You got to look at
Yeah.
every one of them.
Was it right next to Cat Ladies?
Probably.
Or Who Do We Eat First? Which game was
We
it
have
next
to look
to?
up Labotage
All right.
and see what else
Yeah,
they're putting
there are
out.
definitely a lot of games that do not interest me that are on that
Yeah.
Essen list.
Yeah, it's hard.
Something like almost 800 games.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
It's like 10% hit rate or maybe 15.
Yeah.
yeah, I'd say about 15%.
It wasn't even that for me. I was
All right.
maybe at 5% if we were lucky.
All right, so you're number 9, Jim.
Number 9, and then I'm going to 8 too, so I got to get double whammied here. Now you know you want to do Serpentine. You don't want to follow him with all his research. So my again, if you laughed out loud,
No,
people would think
I'm laughing
actually funny,
silently.
all right?
I'm
we don't
just-
have
I'm-
cameras on. You could have a camera on
Jim,
you and then
number
upload
9.
the film. Number 9. Let's just play the White Album for the rest of the show. We're good, right?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. From Designer, winner of the 2015 some contest by the Spiel des Jahres people or whatever. Designer Sophia Wagner. Or
Oh, yeah. I
Wagner.
know this one.
Do you know
Oh,
this one?
sorry, Jim.
Okay, great. Artist Clemens Franz. You know him.
He's getting around this year.
Michael Menzel, published by about 6,000 publishers, including Spielweiss, Hobby Japan, Pegasus Spiel, Stronghold Games, and White Goblin Games. This is Noria. And I'm going against everything I believe in to pick this game. Because, first of all, it's a contest winner. And I just always, oh, God, it's American Idol. But I'm assuming that this contest was a little more discerning than American Idol. The one thing that really has gotten me interested in this game is the wheel, the action selection wheel, the 3-tiered action selection wheel, which there seems to be a bunch of speculation about how it's actually going to work. Best I can figure is you're going to get these discs that go on to one of the 3 sections and change what kind of actions you can take. And then these sections are going to rotate at different speeds. So I don't know exactly how you take your 3 actions, if you have to go up in a row, if you have to go around, or how it works. There's a steampunk theme. There's islands in the sky. You're doing, I believe, resource exchanges. You're also trying to you're investing in something. There's just not enough information for me to really figure it out. But I'm kind of hooked on it because it's getting a little tiny bit of buzz from when I was doing my research. And nothing was just slamming me in the face going, oh, I got to be on your top 10. I got to be on your top 10. And I didn't have any flyers. Like every year I usually have a flyer on something.
Right.
Age of Thieves. I didn't have an Age of Thieves. I didn't have a Plus Ultra this year. So this is kind of the one that I'm throwing in that spot. So that's it. Noria. Hopefully,
for me,
we will get
the
more
artwork,
information.
The fact who it is, I mean,
The box cover is
you have-
gorgeous.
well, not just that,
Yeah.
but who you have 2 of the titans
Right.
of board gaming
Right.
artistry
Right.
with Michael Menzel and Clemens Franz tag teaming a game. That has got to be that they spared no expense, right? When it comes to the artwork.
The other thing with that is it doesn't look like, typically what we see from either of those artists.
Right.
I mean, it's not that hard to pick out a Menzel or a Clemens Franz usually, but this one,
Well,
This
Clemens
one
Franz
definitely
only gets
had-
to do the same game over and over again, so he's actually getting a chance to do something different
That's
on this
right.
one,
He's
right?
getting to do-
Fair point.
There's got to be a
But-
dirty farmer somewhere in Noria.
Or, right, and a dragon maybe hidden somewhere.
But I like
in
the
there.
final line of the intro to it. Additionally, to ensure your investments bear fruit, they also need to bribe politicians with knowledge. So you must be trying to gain knowledge about certain things in this steampunk universe. I guess it's some kind of steam universe, and then you want your investments. So there must be some kind of stock market or something going on. Maybe, I don't know, but the rondelle is the hot thing nowadays, and this looks like a triple type of rondelle where you get new discs and take old ones off and change what kind of actions you can take.
It made my top. It made my top 20.
Yeah.
Plus a couple other things that it has going for it. And again, we're going off of superficial information on a lot of these, so you can only infer so much.
Correct.
And so the fact that it's, it says that it can play in, about a 2-hour time frame. Okay, that's a positive in my opinion, as well as the weight rating, which you have to take with a huge grain of salt at this point on any of these, but it says it's 3.4 out of 5, which that's a pretty heavy game, if it holds. So going off of this, it was in my top 20 for sure.
So yeah, it made my big list, but I basically discounted it in the first round because of the lack of information. I mean, it looked interesting, but I sort of just kept this list of, well, these are things I might come back to. That was one of them. Bribing politicians with knowledge does sound like clear fantasy.
Okay. All right, who's up?
Eric.
No, it's me again.
No, I'm sorry, Jim. You're
Yeah.
number 8.
Number eight. I'm going down the. I'm throwing a fastball down the middle, people. This is it. I've got a 3-0 count at this point. I got to throw a strike here. I believe this is a strike, at least for some people. It may not be a strike for me, and I may argue with the umpire down the road because the history of this designer, his games to me are a bit. Don't really turn me on that much, but this one.
This is one hell of a preface, by the way.
This one's.
hold on, before you get started, because
Sorry.
people yell at us.
I already got started.
That last
but
one
that's
was
all right.
Noria.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
good
yeah.
point.
That's
There you
right.
go.
Noria.
Yeah.
By
All right,
Sophia Wagner. Depends on what part of Europe she's from or if she's from
You're
America.
number 8 now.
My number 8. Where was I?
This is the greatest fastball
3-0
ever
3-0 fastball.
And
Yeah.
Dwight Gooden coming down the middle here.
So we've all taken a ride through the Panama Canal, so why not try the Suez Canal with Transatlantic? This is Transatlantic. Is it on your lists? Was it there?
It is
somewhere
on
on
mine.
the
It's on yours.
Yes.
Okay. So
It's not on my top 10,
Transatlantic.
but-
This is by Matt Gertz, Concordia fame, Hamburgum fame, Imperial fame, a couple other games in there as well.
Mr. Rondell himself.
Mr.
However,
Rondell
this
himself.
game does not have
Correct.
a Rondell.
That excites me. It sounds more like it's going to go the card route of Concordia, but it sounds like it might be actually more interesting than Concordia. And I have no problems with Concordia. Artist is Dominic Meyer. Publisher is PD Verlag, or Rio Grande Games here in the States, I believe. It's a game driven by cards. So you're going to love that, Eric.
Yes.
You play a card, you execute the related action. As new cards enter the game, you build individual decks with these new cards, new improved possibilities. You've got to manage your merchant fleet and supposedly, get them through that canal, deliver your goods, whatever you have to do with these things. It has some neat looking cards of the ships that I saw in
Yeah,
the
the ships
pictures.
look fantastic. The artwork looks great on this.
2 to 4 players. I enjoyed Panamax. I liked Panamax. I'm hoping this might be a little better than Panamax so it can get to the table more often.
For me, it's been 3 years into waiting because it was supposed to come out 2 years ago, or a few Essens ago, and then it got delayed again last Essen, and now it's finally supposed to be coming out this year. I like the idea of managing your fleet and doing it more efficiently than your opponents. And I like the line that it has that describes it: low luck, lots of interactive choices, and tough decisions.
Correct.
That's pretty much right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah. Although this one ranks as a 3 on weight, so it sounds like it's a mid-weight game, but will play heavier than its punching weight.
And that's kind of a Mac.
I'm kind of thinking it. Concordia is a midweight game.
Right.
That some people really, really want to get back to the table over and over and over again. And I think the new maps for that have really enhanced it from what I understand. I don't get to play it much. You had it. You sold it.
Yeah, I had it. I sold it. So I had, this one was an early contender. It did fall in my top 30, otherwise defined as stage 3. But
this is awesome.
I was kind of frothing over Transatlantic, but then I thought about it and I was like, okay. Well, first I was thinking, it's kind of like Concordia and Navigador, maybe mixed together. And I was like,
actually, the board itself reminded me a lot of Navigador.
Yeah,
yes.
So then I was like, but I haven't played Navigador.
Yeah, you haven't.
And then I was like, we played Imperial. I kind of liked that, but
you liked it better than I did.
I did not. Yeah, and we haven't played it again.
I played Hamburgum, which
Concordia
I did not love.
Bored me kind of.
I liked
on the base
Concordia.
map.
Went a little too long for the game.
And
we
I had
played,
a couple
but
games with
people were playing
AP prone
AP.
people.
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe I don't love Mac Gertz, so it fell off my list. But I'm certainly willing to try it and want to try it out.
Yeah. So it was down my list, and it moved up, and I actually kicked some things that I was unsure of off to put this in there because, like I said, it's my fastball down the middle. I don't think it's going to be
You're going to
unsuccessful.
like it.
People are going to like it.
Yes.
If I don't like it, that's fine. They're all going to like it, and then I don't get blamed for saying a crappy game that I like and they don't like. So this is my safest pick my safe pick, I would say.
I actually put it on here for the simple fact that I do enjoy Concordia. Speaking of which, there's a couple new maps coming out this year.
Yep.
Egypt and I can't remember what the other side of it is. It's a very small location. But anyway, I enjoy Concordia. I really enjoy Navigador. And when I saw the map, even though I'm sure they're going to play completely nothing like one another, the fact that I have a good rapport between me and Matt Gertz's games, and the fact that I kind of got a little fatigued waiting for this game, though. I'll be honest, because this new Matt Gertz game. Oh, just kidding, it's not coming out this year. Oh, hey, no, it's not. It's not. Oh, hey, it's coming back out, and so you're at all right, and so that I feel like that at least to me negatively affected my expectation or my anticipation for the game.
You get excited for something. If it doesn't happen, you learn to live with the disappointment, and then when it finally does, you basically like, oh, okay.
Kind of moved on a little bit.
Yeah.
That said, I have it higher on my list, so there's that.
Oh, it is on your top 10, so there you go.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Sometimes it helps to think about these delays as, wow, they must really be play testing the bleep out of that thing.
Yes.
It's going to come out and it's going to be right,
Which we want, right?
Exactly.
But
so we shouldn't fault them.
If you look at other industries, like maybe the movies or something, usually a delay means, oh, that's not going well.
Could be.
And so I don't know.
Is smaller and more in the
right.
That guys can
Eric,
there's so
glass
much
half
more.
Full.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess I'm on to number
Go to hell,
8.
Edward.
Number
I love
8
you, Jim.
for me now is kind of riding on the back of the publisher. Although I haven't had 100% success with this publisher, but in general, it's been pretty good track record. And this game is Kalimala from designer Fabio Lopiano, artist Harold Liski, and published by ADC Blackfire, associated, of course, with the good man Uli Blenneman from Spielworks.
Also higher on my list, and I've actually played this one.
Okay.
So this was in the spot where Transatlantic is now. Before we started, I kicked it out for Transatlantic.
Okay. All right. So do you want me to speak about it, or do you want to?
No,
Eric?
I'm going to keep talking. It's an
Awesome.
It's an economic game about Florence cloth merchants. And in addition to participating in this European cloth economy, you're also generating resources, helping to donate to the great works of Florence, the buildings there. And there's kind of a unique action selection mechanism here, and I am going to want to hear your word on this in a minute, Edward, but give me a minute here. We have 9 locations.
I'm sorry, folks, we're out of time right now. Thanks
that
for
are
tuning in.
randomized what action is located there. I don't know if there are more than 9 in the box, but 9 are on the board.
Just 9.
Okay. And then you place discs between 2 of these locations on the grid, and the player who places their disc gets to perform both actions in any order they choose. There's also an ability through various mechanisms of the game to gain action cards, which are an additional way to basically do additional actions, because you can play as many of those before or after your turn as you want on your turn. And then as other players are doing their actions, if players stack their disc on a disc that's already out there in the action selection area, they get to do the 2 actions, but also the disc below that player gets to do it. And there's also like a wild disc, if a white disc. So if I place my white disc, I can do both actions twice, but I won't get to follow a future player stacking on top of me type of thing. But the thing that had me wondering, I'm interested to hear about, because this is an example of reading about the game versus actually playing it, is when 4 discs are, the 4th disc is stacked in a particular location on the action board, the bottom disc gets kicked out and triggers a scoring tile. And there's 15 scoring tiles, I believe, and they occur in the specific order that they're laid out in. So as you're playing, your action selection is basically dictated by the upcoming 3 to 4 scoring tiles that might be there. But when I read about that, I was a little worried that that could take a while. I mean, there's the 9 actions. I don't know how many spots that equates to, but how long does it take?
What you're saying is you're worried that you won't be able to exploit that, like you're drooling over right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to have 4 discs stacked before you trigger one of 15 scoring tiles, that has to happen 15 times before you get to the final scoring. So I just thought, gee, does that take a while for that to happen? Does it take longer than it should? I don't know, but as somebody who's played it, Edward, I'd like to hear what you
shut
think.
him up so you can talk,
I'd like to
Edward.
hear what you think.
What he's saying
Truly,
is pour more whiskey.
That was an amazing description of the game, actually, that you nailed it. I mean, that was really well done.
I know I forgot the area control in the cities of Europe, but that's a detail.
It really is. The hook of this game is all about before the game starts, you scramble up the 9 tiles, and where they go is random every game. And so that's going to change up. So it's just those same 9. But like you said, the hook of this game is the placing of the discs in between 2 of the actions so that you get to do both actions. But the really cool part is the stacking, to where, yes, you get to do this, but then you trigger everybody below you getting to do those extra actions as well. And the game, honestly, I think it took us, now we played it 4 players. It was me, Uli, because he had the prototype at Gen Con, Adrian from Mile High Game Guys, and Uli, his buddy Christoph. And all of us, it was all of our first game except for Uli, and I think it took us 60 to 75 minutes total for the entire game.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, it is not. It played in what we felt was what I felt was a really appropriate time frame, and it accelerates the game. It takes a while before you start doing any scoring, because you have to get 4 high on any of the actions. Now, it's possible that in the first round, one of those triggers because everybody wants to do that action. Probably not going to happen, but there's a definite ramp up because it takes a while. All of a sudden you have 2 discs in everywhere. Then maybe you have a lot of 3s. And now once you have 3s, boom, 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 boom. Every time a disc goes down, scoring triggers.
Okay, that makes sense. So they accumulate, of course.
They do.
So yeah, you might take a while to get the first one, but you could trigger 4 in a row over 4 placements in a row.
Absolutely.
Once they're stacked up. Okay, that seems like that would also be a neat dynamic.
It really, really is. I have played a number of ADC Blackfire games. Uli, he picks out all the games to publish for ADC Blackfire to publish. And when I interviewed him, actually, he went into more detail about this, how he determines whether it's an ADC Blackfire game or whether it's a Spielworks game. And he said, honestly, this could have gone either way. Even though it's a shorter playing game than it's nothing like an Arkwright or anything. Like I said, it's about an hour 15 or so. But that said, this is bar none, far and away, the best game that ADC Blackfire has put out, including Kraftwagen and everything else that I have played, at least. This is... Now, it helps that ADC Blackfire is going to be hosting us at Essen, so I don't have to run and hurry to go get a copy of this. That said, if they weren't, this would be one of my first stops. This is really, really high on my list. I've already played it, so I know how good it is. It's not going to be a very heavy game. I mean, like I said, it's 60 to 75 minutes. But that said, it was thoroughly enjoyable. Everybody at the table was like, yeah, very, very cool. And actually Clay was watching us play it and he was like, dude, that looks really cool. I'm like, yeah, it really kind of is. It's a really good game. Really enjoyed it. So that's the one game that's on my list that I have experience with and highly recommended. Definitely. Kalimala.
Yeah, so I think that one with that knowledge would probably have been higher. I only had that reservation about how that works, so that sounds clear.
My reservation, the reason it came off is because I thought, well, it's just possibly. I mean, I like Kraftwagen, but it wouldn't be a top 10 of something I'm looking for. So I was thinking, well, okay, ADC Blackfire is more of a mid, lighter weight stuff.
Yep,
all of that. So and that does mean that mid and lightweight games. I mean, we've been enjoying several of those lately, like Champions of Midgard and things like that. So, but but you only have 10 spots.
Yep, makes sense.
All right.
So
that was your
then
8.
I guess
that was my number 8, and that was Kalimala.
My number 8 is a game that I'm excited about because of the designer, but I'm apprehensive about because of how heavy the dice and the negotiation is in this game. And that's John Company, designed by Cole Worley and published by Sierra Madre Games. I've played this game once, but it was so early along in the prototype form. The game is drastically different, so I can't really speak to what the game is like now. There were a number of these played at HeavyCon, and I'm sure, Jim, you saw some of the games going on.
Yeah, I saw them.
And to be honest with you, I basically just copied what they have for the description of the game, and I think that'd be a better job than me fumbling my way through it. So John Company attempts to tell the story of the British East India Company from the inside out. Players will steer their dynasties through the company's history, vying for position, power, and prestige. The goal of the game is simple. Use the company and the company's trade to secure your place in society back home. To this end, you guide your scions through their careers, exchanging favors for positions in London or plush colonial posts. Players collectively control the company, facing tough budgetary decisions and conflicting interests. Now, Cole, some people were really turned off by the amount of die rolling and how much randomness that can be in the game because of it. So he has made a variant that removes a fair bit of the dice rolling from the game. It's not the game he intended to make, but he put it in for those that want that. My big issue is negotiation games, I have to have the right group, and our normal group of 10 folks or so that are in the core of our game group, negotiation games aren't a huge... It's just not the right group dynamic for it. And so that's what makes me more apprehensive than the game itself. It's just my ability to actually do much with the game with the right group.
That makes sense.
I tell you, I'm getting blank stares, so I assume it's not on either of your lists.
No, it's in my radar. It's not quite on my list. There's been a lot of hype for that game. There was a ton of hype at HeavyCon. There are people around who have hyped the game a ton. There is the random element of the dice. It did seem that it did need a group of people willing to do all the things you need to do in the game. So you do have to right group of people, but it also seemed like it needed 4, 5, 6 people to have a good game of it. It's not a game you can do with 2 or 3 people, I don't think. From what I was gathering, they seemed to have a full table every time they were playing it. I mean, I was intrigued. I would have liked to have tried it, but it's not something that has blown me away on, I've got to go get this.
Yeah, I would want to try it. But
Yeah.
I think one thing that makes it difficult with a good negotiation game is you do need those 5 players. And it can be a little bit hard to come up with 5 people that are really, really on board with the negotiation. Also, negotiation's tricky because in some games, negotiation blows up the game length significantly. I don't know if that's
That
the case
certainly
here.
can be the case.
They
yeah.
were having marathon sessions of that. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, my old, is it negotiation or extortion? I like to be able to create
when
win-win.
you're playing, it's extortion.
I like win-win deals in negotiation.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
like
you'll do
win-win
this or I'm
deals.
going to kill half your trade supply. You'll be nothing. If you don't do this, I'm going to kill you in 2 turns. I don't know. I mean, so it depends on the style and whether there actually is the ability to negotiate, as I would call it. But I'd be interested in trying it. I know one of our friends, friend of your show that you've met in HeavyCon, has been touting this game in the area lately, which, is kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe it's had an effect on my willingness to play. I haven't been around him enough, but I'd play it.
Well, he speaking of Andy. And
no, that's not a friend of Eric's. Who are you talking about?
That's what I was talking about.
He's
a
there's
big
a group
proponent.
of folks within our Slack channel that also have been speaking very highly of it, and I mean, there's a reason it's on my list. Plus, after having played in Infamous Traffic, the most recent game from Cole, and being really enamored with how clever and opaque that game can be, and again, opaque being a compliment in this case, I'm willing to basically give all of his games a shot, sight unseen, until he proves to me otherwise that I shouldn't. Like, it took me a while for Uwe Rosenberg, but I learned. And Cole is 2-0 in my book with PAX Premier and an Infamous Traffic, so of course that's going to be on my list here for sure. So that's John Company, my number 8.
Okay, you're number 7. What do you think? You're done? Number 7 now.
No, my number 7 I'm not going to talk about yet, since it's one of the big ones for
What
Eric.
was your
and
number
that's
7 again?
Gaia Project.
Oh, Gaia Project. Yeah,
up
let's
the
save
list.
that for
It's up
Eric.
the
We
list.
got to save
That's
that.
fine.
You want to
No
see
worries.
me froth? What are you
No,
doing
I mean,
here?
right.
it's out of respect for your love for
All
Terra
right, yeah,
Mystica.
I appreciate that.
Hey,
You're the
that's
Terra
all it is.
Mystica
Yeah.
dude.
So
Right.
actually, that may surprise people that I have Gaia Project in my top 10
because you don't like Terra Mystica?
It's not that we don't like it. It's fine. It's just I don't like the fact that the factions are unbalanced to a point to where you have to bid for the factions to, this and that. That's my real big
Or that you're
issue
forced
with
to
it.
play exactly what the faction tells you to play?
All
That.
right, guys.
And so
guys.
So hold. Oh no.
Do I need to
no.
school
No.
you
So
here?
what I'm trying to say is the fact that I'm willing to give Gaia Project a fair shake here. I have it on my top 10, and I saw it at Gen Con and had some things described to me, and I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool.
Maybe
So,
it solves
yeah.
the problems with Terra
So
Mystica. Plus, it's
Gaia
in space,
Project,
right?
my number 7. We'll talk about it in a bit. So Eric, what's your number 7?
All right, I'm going to
Gaia
go
Project.
with Gaia Project. I'm going to go with, I think this is my number 7. Am I mistaken here?
I don't
I'm not.
know.
No,
What-
you're right. You're
What
number
cell
7.
is it in?
Mine.
Is it in
Yeah.
B6?
This is in B29. And it kind of goes with the name. At least the numbers bookend part of the title of the game,
I have
which
no
is
idea how the spreadsheets are set up.
the game is Pulsar 2849.
Okay.
Not too far off of
Also in my top
B29.
20, not in my top
29,
10 though.
Yeah, so this is designed by Vladimir Suchi of Shipyard and Last Will fame, which, I've had a decent track record with him. I had more fun with Shipyard than Last Will, but,
Same here.
solid. He's worth giving a look. Artist Soren Medding, and this is published by Czech Games Edition. So this is kind of a return to, I think, the Czech Games heavy Euro type of environment, which it's actually been a while. I think the last heavy one, they've been busy with code names. The last heavy one that I remember was Alchemist, which I didn't love.
Same. Yeah.
didn't
I was
love?
not a
I
fan.
did not
I
love
thought you were going to flip the
Alchemist.
table halfway through that episode of
I'm
Alchemist.
trying to be polite. It was a bad night.
You didn't love it.
Yeah, it was better than Inish, but
Oh, God, no. No.
Pulsar.
That was only because there were more people there and you didn't really want to go off on it.
Yeah, it was a dark room with an app. I don't want to remember it.
What am I doing? Why do I have to touch it? I don't want to be on my phone. Why are we playing this?
All right, moving on.
This is a big interconnected Euro, it looks like. It's a dice drafting game with kind of movement and exploration on a central board in space. And I don't know what too much to say about it. There's a tech tree, and we draft dice. There's kind of a cool mechanism where a bunch of dice are rolled at the beginning of the round, and the median value dice of the pool determines how many spaces forward the timer of the game moves. So, depending on the die rolls, the game can be longer,
accelerate
shorter,
or not, right?
Probably over all the rolls of the game, it probably evens out to be about the same. But it kind of reminded me a little bit of the time track in Trajan, although it's unrelated, but kind of, same idea a little bit there. So yeah, it's dice drafting in space. We saw that last year in Solarius Mission. This looks like a different style of game than Solarius Mission, although it is dice drafting in space. And now I'm going to lean on you two fine fellas to fill out the rest of this review.
I don't have anything to fill out. I looked at it and went, and then moved on.
For me, Paul Grogan speaks well of it, and I'm smitten with dice drafting. That is one of my, I found that the more I encounter it, the more I enjoy it. And yeah, plus Vladimir Suchi, I absolutely love Shipyard. So yeah, sign me up. Like I said, it was on my short list. It just missed my top 10. It's definitely in my top 20.
It's not on mine.
All right.
So
let's go with your.
I'm the bad
and
guy.
What's the name of that again?
Oh,
Eric?
This is Pulsar 2849 from cell B29 of my spreadsheet.
And Jim, you're number 7.
Is that where we're at? Number 7. All right. 10,
yes,
9,
number
8,
7.
7. So on the 7th spot on my list, I have Clans of Caledonia.
Oh.
I'm going to be hitting that here in a little bit. Yep.
Yeah,
Clans also on my list.
Caledonia. You'll both be hitting that?
I'd hit that.
Well, why don't we wait then? Why don't we wait?
Nope.
That's my number 7. Let's go to number 6 then. We'll wait for Clans of Caledonia. Number 6 is a pretty easy one to be on this list, and it looks like it's going to be weightier than the one that it's kind of based on, or the series it's based on, and that's Keeper.
Keeper.
Also on my short list, just missed my top 10.
Till like an hour before airtime, it was below. It was like 11 or 12, and I'm like, no. I love Keyflower. I mean, I don't love the other ones. Like, I love Keyflower and Key to the City. London is a fine, light version of Keyflower. But as I sat there while you were typing away, I got to write paragraphs about this. I'm looking at the rule book for Keeper, and I'm going, this rule book is a little more intense than Keyflower. It looks like there's a hell of a lot more going on here. This looks like Keyflower on steroids with some of the elements of Keyflower, but now we got these special folding boards that change between seasons.
That's a really cool idea.
It's a cool idea as long as the boards don't get all mangled, because that'll freak me out.
And that's my fear is the mangled boards.
Yeah.
Right. But I trust Richard.
Yes, Richard Breeze. I mean, it's a variation on his themes, right? But, I'm going to give him that. That's fine. The other games aren't quite the same. He's not Uwe Rosenberg doing a multiple of the same game, I don't think. And this didn't look like the same game. It looked like a lot of stuff was going on. It looked like Keyflower plus 2 expansions, plus 2 more expansions we haven't seen, plus folding boards, but you don't have the tiles, but you have little square tiles, and you have meeples, and you have animeeples, and you have the Farmers of the Moor. You just bring that over in, and you can put that in this game, apparently.
It's got legacy
in there, and I don't know. And I was going through the rule book thinking, oh my God, this is going to actually take a while to get through this rule book and figure this out. But everything I like about Keyflower seems to be in the game, and a lot more as well. So, right now it's sitting at a weight rating of 4 for a Euro on BGG.
which is
I'm there,
massively
man.
heavy.
Yeah, that's heavy. I'm there. I'm hoping it's a heavier version of Keyflower for Euro players, because Keyflower does seem to turn off some Euro players because of the auctions and all that. Whereas
I can't get enough of it.
I agree with you, but there's some people who we won't mention Ty, and so that like don't always go for Keyflower. But I've found Keyflower to be one of my favorite games, and if this improves, if it can improve, or gives me an alternative, if it can sit on the shelf next to Keyflower, and I go to the shelf and go, ooh, I don't know which one I want to play, then
that'd be awesome.
Then this game is absolutely a top 10.
That'll be a total success.
Yeah.
Then I'll feel like an idiot for not putting it in my top 10. Yeah. And much like
anytime I can make you feel like an idiot, I'm happy.
It happens often enough. Much like BIOS Megafauna was influenced by your guys' experience with BIOS Genesis, I enjoyed Key to the City London. However, I was worried that this is going to be more on that trend of it being lighter than Keyflower, and just being, I don't want to say stripped down because that's not fair. It's its own game, but just being a lighter game, and that's not what I wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. And that was my fear with Keeper, and that's why I was like, okay, do I put these other games in or do I put this in? I was like, you know what? Prove to me it's going to be the game I'm hoping it is, just like what you said, Jim, that if I can put this next to Keyflower and I'd be like, man, that's a tough choice, that would be a awesome problem to have. I would love that. That's what I hope.
I felt the same way about it. I had it down my list thinking, okay, if this is going to be more Key to the City. And then while I was just killing some time, I pulled the rule book up and started scrolling through it thinking, oh my God, there's just so much in here that I've got to bump this in.
So this one was probably the hardest one for me to bump out of the top 10. It was there. It looks like they've taken away the auctions of Keyflower, but they have
the boats there though.
Yeah, and they've kept the I can lock out a board and gather meeples, so there's fluid meeple sharing among the players, which was kind of an element of Keyflower that was important. So it's also public information. The meeples you have, other people can see, which you couldn't see in Keyflower. So it's definitely different. Took some of the elements. I only dropped it out because I was like, well, maybe it's too much like Keyflower. Okay, I'll put it at 11. but it's knocking at the door. Good game, it looks like.
But still, even I mean, if you're talking top 10, top 20, that's still pretty good list.
This is one that when we have a chance to get it, it will be taken and played.
Cool.
All right.
So that's Keeper.
R&D. Richard Breeze.
Yes, and you're going to your number 6 now. Right?
That was his 6.
Okay.
Oh, he wasn't ready.
No, I'm ready.
He wasn't
number
ready.
6 is an unknown game. This is a little bit of a flyer for me, but it looks pretty solid. I don't know how heavy it is. It might be a little light, but we'll see.
What cell is it in?
It's B36.
Awesome.
This is Bardagi, The Claim for Gold.
Oh.
I don't know if I'm seeing any blanks. Jim's not claiming. I don't know if Edward's seen this. This is designer, Svavar Bjorgvinsson.
Yep.
With artist Valentina Scamardi. Mm-hmm. And the publisher is Gamia Games, Gamia Games, which I've not heard of. It's kind of a worker placement driven by cards game where each player has 4 different workers and they do different things and have different powers. And they basically wander around the central board, and you're trying to increase your empire size by taking over lands that are controlled by barbarians or other players. There's a kind of a deterministic battle mechanism, sort of like Imperial, that's in it, where you play just based on the numbers who wins the battles. It's got a nice board. It kind of has like a Small World-ish looking board, but it doesn't look as light as Small World.
It reminds me of the board from Burano from a couple years ago at Essen. Kind of. It's very, very, or Bora Bora.
Yeah, it's very colorful.
Yes.
And that actually was the first thing that grabbed me. Was I saw the board, I was like, wow. And I kind of saw the pictures of the characters. I think it's the merchant. I was kind of like, I don't know about that. He's kind of cartoonish. But then, I looked into the game. I kind of studied up on it, and it actually looked pretty interesting, where you have these different workers that do different things depending on where they are on the board, and it's card driven to make your workers do things. So, it seems like there's at least enough going on there to keep track of to make it interesting. It also has 2 game boards. There's the really colorful side that's supposed to be the more open side, and then there's a flip side that's like the tighter, I want to kill you side. That's the 2 to 3 player side of the board.
Oh, so it's based on player count? Gotcha.
Yes, you can play on the colorful side with 2 or 3 players, but it's looser, so they give you a second map in there to play
Gotcha.
a tighter game with lower player count. So interested in giving this a shot. Gamia Games, I don't think I've seen that publisher very often, so I'm a little bit skeptical that it's going to show up. Do I want to go hunting for this? Yes, it's high on my list. It's number 6, but we'll
2
see.
listed. They had 2 listed on the list, and I was actually looking at the other one.
Okay.
Which was a space-related game.
Oh, the same publisher?
Same publisher, I believe. Same designer, and I didn't write it down. It didn't even make it. It was the last one cut from my short list. And Edward might be looking at it. Looks like he's looking at a screen. I don't know.
Yeah, so I see Bardagi. I'll be honest, I was wholly unfamiliar with this. The other 2 games by that publisher is Ancient Aliens,
That's the
Creature
one.
of Civilization.
Yeah.
That one actually,
for a while.
Yeah.
that actually would have potentially made my top 10. The only reason it didn't, one of the main reasons it didn't is it's only available for demo. At Essen.
Yeah,
and so that's why I was like, okay, I'm not going to bother with it.
I think that's why I pulled it off the list, because I was looking at a series of space games, and that was one of them. And then I saw that game that you just mentioned, and I went, oh, yeah, that looks terrible. So,
But you'll be playing
Game
it.
again.
You'll be
I'll be
playing
playing it.
It's interesting.
Well, I might
that,
not, because as we showed on your other list there, that I didn't get to play those games even though you bought them.
That's true.
Come on, man.
So it's funny. I remember looking at the board on this when doing my research and everything for this, and I don't want to say garishness,
Yes,
but
go ahead,
the
say it.
saturation, the
very
oversaturation of the colors, kind of like Bora Bora. Actually, I had the opposite reaction that you did, Eric, that I was like, ooh, yeah, not a fan at all of that. And apparently it's out, because it's got a rating. There's like 27 comments on BGG already of it.
Okay.
What's
it can be
the rating's
difficult to
low
tell.
too, isn't it?
It's not bad. It's 6.9.
Yeah.
It's not like it's, bad. I wouldn't say
but
at
like
You're
all,
getting
but-
this choice now, aren't you?
No, like all of these numbers, the weight, the
Right.
rating. I mean, there's so
Oh,
few
yeah.
numbers.
There were several
They're
games I
gonna
looked at, and
skew.
they were in the 6s, and then I went in there, and it's 3 guys rated it a 9, and then some idiot rates it a 1.
Yeah, there you
Right.
go.
So
take it with a grain of salt,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll be honest. This one, not on my radar. So I'll defer to you. And if you do end up getting a copy, I'm curious to hear about it.
he's writing that down.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep, I got to make my notes for the future.
He's moving
So
it.
That's
he's
Bardagi, the claim for gold.
He moved that
Bardagi.
You moved that from B37 to A37 now. So
That's right. It's up the list.
So my number 6, we've already covered, Kalimala.
Kalimala.
And the only reason it's this low is because it's a known quantity, and I have really high hopes for everything that's up above this to be a better game, which says a lot because Kalimala I really enjoyed. So we'll see how it goes.
You're about to break us into the second half of the top 10 here with the number 5 that you have really high hopes for,
man, bring
because
it,
you know how
bring
good
it.
Kalimala is.
Bring it.
So no crap on your list, dude. If you have crap on your list, it's a refund for the
I
entire
actually feel
Patreon.
really strong that all 5 of these are going to be really good games. So
Eric
my
gets
number
that.
5, Clans of Caledonia.
Oh, yeah.
We'll touch on this though when you get to it, Eric. So that's my
Is that
number
on your list,
5.
too?
That's on my
All
list.
right,
yeah.
number 5
All
for,
right. So Eric, you're up.
Okay, number 5, I broke a cardinal rule.
Oh, he broke a rule.
I broke a
Jeez,
rule
there's
for
a
number
surprise.
5.
That's never happened
I
before.
started out with the rule of,
No reprints and no expansions.
no reprints, no expansions, no demos.
Okay.
And I struggled with is it out yet? And damn, Edward seems to play everything a month ahead of me. He's probably already played this. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But
Screw
and I know
that guy.
he's played this.
He's a bastard.
But I made the exception because it is a reprint, but it's kind of a distant reprint for a game that is widely unavailable to most people.
I still have no idea what game.
Well, he'll
this
get
is
to
going
it in
be.
the next hour. Just chill out.
I could have
He's
obviously
getting there. Let him work it up.
These are games you can get copies of, but I held off because I knew they were doing the
Go
reprint.
take a piss.
So, so this is Antiquity. I went with Antiquity. It's obviously
Fantastic
an older
game.
game. It's a
Yay.
known quantity, but I haven't
It's a
played
reprint,
it.
man.
I haven't played it, and
All
it's a fairly rare reprint, so we'll go ahead and give it its props. This is the Splotter game from Jeroen and Joris.
Jeroen
and Joris, and the artist, Moat Antwerpers.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know a ton about it other than it's in Splotter's Big Five. It's city building civ game with a tight pollution control element that's an important part of how the game unfolds and whether you survive or not. I know there's city building with puzzly pieces for the buildings and things and putting graves in your city, but I'm basically just going on the history of Splotter and knowing that it's one of their big games. It's something I want to play and get. And
Do understand that the people you play your Splotter games with are going to make this a 27-hour game for you. You know that.
It could happen.
All right.
It could happen.
Well, the nice thing about Antiquity is it plays amazing at 2, 3, and 4. It can play long at 4, obviously, as more people, AP, et cetera, but the game hates you. The game is actively trying to kill you, and the other players are actively trying to kill you with the pollution and the graves. And graves take up spots in your city, and so it very much is that Tetris-y board to where you only have a finite amount of grid space in each of the buildings that you need to build. Take up certain shapes, kind of Tetris shape buildings. And so you go out, you explore, you expand, you establish new cities, you get a secondary board to be able to now put down more Tetris pieces, and then continue going until one of the 4 in-game, when you build a cathedral, you have a saint that you basically not worship, but it's the patron saint, and that patron saint is what the win condition is that you chose. You have 4 choices, and so you start the game, nobody has a win condition, and so when you build the cathedrals that's when you choose your patron saint and your win condition. And
are those drafted in that if one person takes
Nope,
patron
you
saint
can
X,
you can have the same one,
Okay.
but it's possible that you could be one step behind,
Yeah,
and unless
sure.
they trip up, they're going to beat you.
Yeah.
But it can be it can be multiplayer solitaire if you choose to play it that way, or it can be a whole lot of in your face. I'm going to spread out fast enough to where now when I have to put down pollution, I'm putting down pollution around your city and not mine. And so not only does the game actively hate you and tries to kill you, but now I'm also trying to help with that as well. And it is possible, just like in Roads and Boats, that if you spend your last resources of things, that you're now, spinning around the toilet bowl, and it's just, you're in a death spiral that literally you put yourself in it. After the second turn, it's possible you're out of the game. But that's
a Splotter game.
That's a Splotter, right? Like every decision you make matters.
Yep.
And it's on any given day, any of the big 5 for me for Splotter could be my favorite Splotter. But if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me which it is, it's probably Antiquity. Understand, it's also fiddly beyond belief because it has a million little chits and you are constantly having to mess with them. That's where the little suction cups that we have come in real handy for that. I obviously don't know a whole lot as far as changes on the second edition. I know they're minimal and it's a smaller box. But other than that, yes,
Something
I'm
along
looking
the line
forward
of
to
their
it.
other reprints. in terms of
Yeah.
changes, barring
Yep.
Indonesia.
Right. Right.
Right.
But yeah, Antiquity is a Grail game and a Hall of Fame game as far as I'm concerned, and so I'm super excited that they reprinted it so more people get a chance to enjoy it.
All right. Yep. That was Antiquity. My number 5.
Your number 5. All right. My number 5 is an 18XX game that should be out shortly. 18CZ.
Woohoo!
Which I didn't back, stupidly. But seeing as I've been playing a lot more of this stuff, I'm always looking for something different. My only hesitation is it seems like it might be more along the lines of weight-wise for 18XX of the 46 or something like that, where it might be harder to get people to get interested in it on a regular basis if I did have a copy. But I do like the one thing where it uses different company sizes, where you have 5 companies with 4 shares divided into quarters, or 50% and 2 25s, 3 shares, I should say. 4 shares, because one certificate is a 2-share certificate. Correct?
Right.
So,
Yep.
And then one that's 40, 20, 20, 20, or 5 that are 40, 20, 20, 20, and then 5 companies that are the usual 20%, 10, 10, 10, and so on. And each company has a different set of trains. So that's something that seems a little different to me in my limited experience. So I can see it playing differently than all the other stuff I've ever played and being a lot of fun. It's Lonnie Orgler, self-published, but they're called Fox in the Box. And it's, Czechoslovakia, I believe, 18CZ.
It is.
And I don't know, have you played it?
I have not. Lonnie sent a prototype.
Of course he did.
To HeavyCon,
Yeah.
for HeavyCon. And,
Was it there?
I know. Huh?
It was there?
Yeah, it was there. Yeah, Tony played it as well as a few other people, and they spoke well of it.
Yeah.
They weren't raving that it was ZOMG the best game they've ever played, but it certainly wasn't one that they would not. Let me try this again without double negatives. It's one that they actively would like to play more. How's that?
Right. Okay.
I have not played it, so I can't speak to it. But I love the idea of what you just said about the different size companies, the 10-share, the 5-share, and 3-share companies. I think that's pretty cool. That's exciting. The different types of trains, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, and they have different trains for the company. So that I thought was kind of interesting. I don't know how it's going to work. I didn't really look at the Kickstarter. I think this kickstarted when I wasn't paying attention to Kickstarters, like Keeper was kickstarting, all these
was a
things
few
I never
months ago,
saw. There,
right?
it was like over the winter, and I get tired of
And
paying attention.
the other
to
really
Kickstarter.
nice thing, provided it gets pulled off well, is there's a 2-player version of 18CZ in the box.
Right. And so, Lonnie Orgler, I mean, the guy's got some pretty good history going with making train games. So
Yeah, he did 1880.
Yes.
Did the 1844, 1854.
one of those two with his buddy that he did Russian railroads with, and
Yep.
so he's got the pedigree there for these games. So I know it's not going to be one of those super narrow. Oh, this is just for the railheads types. It's probably going to try to get more people involved in the whole 18XX experience, and that's fine too. I don't mind that.
And I'll be honest.
I also don't think it runs, lengthwise as long as some of these other games run. So I'm not sure about that.
It's a middleweight or middle length time wise. You're talking anywhere 4 to 6 hours probably. And what I was going to say was the box cover. The artwork is striking. Like, he did an amazing job with that. It looks fantastic.
Yeah. So had to put one on there, I think. Number 4?
Number 4, yeah.
Number 4. That was 18CZ.
Yeah,
So,
the only
go ahead,
reason
Mark.
it's not on my list is I did back the Kickstarter. There's a group order we did here in Denver. And so I figure I'm not actually going and picking that up at Essen. So plus it gave me an excuse to add another game. And I figured one of you guys would have that on there so I could talk about it then. But to be honest with you, just because it's getting shipped to the house through the Kickstarter is why I didn't put it on the Essen list. That's it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I put it on my list. I do this so you guys don't have to.
There you go. That's
All
what we
right.
count on you for.
Team player, Jim.
Number
That's-
4. Maybe it's on my list, so you don't have to put this one on your list. It's possible. I don't know. This one's called Iberian Rails. Let's keep the trains going.
Also in my
narrow
top 15.
misses.
Yep.
I knew it would be a narrow miss for both of you, so I put it in at number 4 to give it a little jump there. Designer Tony Chen, artist David Cochard, and publisher Monsoon Publishing. How can you not like a game that comes from a publisher that names itself Monsoon? It's raining games, hard raining games, all right? Iberian Rails is a shareholding train game in which players employ services of characters, some more reputable than others. So this looks like kind of a crazy game because you're trying to buy companies. Some companies do well early. Some companies do well later. Shares might get you money early from companies that go work in tourist towns or not tourist towns. I don't know exactly which does which better. Some railways have only 3 shares. Some have up to 6 shares available. And you're getting all this stuff going on, and yet there are characters who also have a say in how things go and what happens, including the engineer, the mafia, the bureaucrat, inspector, banker, a ghost. There's a ghost. The construction mech. So people don't have to construct it, so you know that the rails will work correctly. The hotelier, and then some bastard venture capitalist is in this as well. And it might make the general idea of which shares do what less exact by the end of the game. So it's not a guarantee that your strategy in one game is going to work to the next game, depending on what the characters do. It's set in Spain. It has 42 cities, 14 of which are tourist cities. And at the end of the game, double dividends are paid out. The person with the most money, I know you're going to like this, Eric, wins the game. It sounds... It kind of sounds. We played Whistle Stop last night. It kind of sounds a little bit like in that area. And I looked at the map. The box cover is crazy. It's got roller coaster trains and all kinds of crazy stuff on the box cover. So it makes it seem like maybe it's Whistle Stop on steroids with characters who do things that you might not want them to do. I don't know. Ramp it up to a different level. It just looked like it was going to be difficult to play. Had enough weight to it. Plus, there might be a little bit of craziness that keeps you coming back to the table for the fun of the game. You know, is antiquity fun?
Sure, yeah.
Sure, it
the
is.
Graves and rot.
But at the end, it's trying to kill you. This game may not try to kill you as hard and say, oh, we're a little more fun. So, you know, and I think when we do these lists, we get these heavy games, and we love them, and they're fun for us. But sometimes you get a game that you just get done with and go, God, that was really good time. You know, like when we played Shogun. That was a really good time. It's not as
really
great
was.
a game as some of the other games we love, but for that moment at that time, that hit the spot. And sometimes you need those heavy, greasy cheeseburgers, and I think that's what this is.
So this one was a narrow miss. I don't have a lot of experience with the Winsomes, but I did recently play Chicago Express, but it certainly seemed to have kind of
That's
that
exactly
idea, right? It was in that same wheelhouse. And the characters, when I've seen that, I think what happens is you have a certain character as your CEO, but every round you're like trading the card you have now with another card that's in the offer, so that your powers are kind of migrating throughout the game depending on what you're wanting to do that round. But it also it's got the company money separation from the player money. And, you know, if you spend all the company's money, then you have to hold the auctions for shares. So you better have personal money if you want to participate. So, yeah, it looked like it could have some, maybe not super heavy, but wow, that game was tricky, like Chicago Express is.
Tricky,
makes
clever.
Makes it a really interesting game for not being, you know.
And hopefully 90 minutes or less for what it is.
Sure.
It's something you want to keep getting back to the table on a regular Euro game night or something instead of a boring worker placement, you know.
It made me think a lot of Winsome or Chicago Express explicitly, but with the characters and, you know, the change it up and make it a little bit quirky, I think is maybe the right word. I mean, it narrowly missed my list. Top 15 here as well, so looking forward to it. I didn't back it on Kickstarter because I was like, I don't know. The character aspect of it made me a little apprehensive, but the awesome thing about being able to go to Essen is I can go and look at this and see and be like, okay, yeah, I feel comfortable with this, or No, my apprehension was well founded. So
Is that the
we'll
third
see.
or fourth time he's rubbed it in that he gets to go.
Oh,
check
will you
this
stop?
out.
Oh,
don't
you
know.
know how to how to
know.
pull my chain,
Yes,
Jim.
he's ball breaker extraordinaire.
We'll all be
here.
dealing with our children and all that stuff, and they'll be drinking Weiss beer in Essen, talking with Rado about these games and all that.
So I'm on number 4 now, right?
Yes, sir.
I
So I'm going with another game. I think this one's actually out, but it's just come out if it's out. And this one is Brides and Bribes. And it's an Italian design team. It looks like a couple of women, Andrea Galazzi, Alicia Lenardi, and their buddy Pietro Navarroto, with artist Alan D'Amico, which was also the artist for my number 10, Wendake.
I never would have guessed this one. Good night, folks.
Yeah, and the publisher is
This one caught me off guard. Not
Yes.
gonna lie.
Space Balloon Games is the publisher here. So this actually looks it's takes place in Renaissance Italy. Wait for it, Renaissance Italy. We have, some vying for power in the city of Genoa, which apparently was like, the most cutthroat city at the time. But it actually seems a little bit cutthroat. It's like there's 4 boroughs on the board, and the board on this thing looks amazing. It's got like
It really
city.
does. I'm looking at it right now,
Yeah,
and it really does
It's
look.
kind of got
pretty.
like an Alexander Roche Brussels 1893 look to it or something. Some of these games, they made it past the first couple rounds because of their looks, but this one looked in deeper by this point. It made my list. So players are going to be placing delegations out into these different boroughs, which is basically placing a secret group of cards into the borough that no other players can see. They can see you're going there, but they don't know what you're going to do there. And then after everybody's put cards out into these areas, basically you get into a kind of a mini card game in each of the boroughs to take actions. And one of the key things you're trying to do, you're trying to boost your influence in the boroughs. You're trying to join families with the local lords through marriage. So they usually have their daughters there that are available for your family to come and propose a marriage, which it has a little bit of like the thematic signore.
You getting ready
it's like
for your kids to
signore-
grow up? Is that
Quit
it?
looking at me like that.
We're not on video, man.
Yeah, what's your game, signore? It kind of reminds me of that theme-wise. If you get into a marriage arrangement or your influence is high, it
He's
dictates
turning red, man.
the order of actions that you can take in the round against the other players that have sent delegations to the boroughs. And I think there's an element that when you propose a marriage or you start trying to do actions, some of the players, instead of focusing on being efficient with their actions, they can focus on ways to modify, interrupt, cancel completely actions that other players are taking. So there's sort of okay, my action is to marry this daughter, and that goes around the table for everybody else present there can play cards to try to alter that outcome. They may
or kind of not straight out veto it, but just alter it, right?
Yeah, right.
And you're okay with that?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah,
it
because
seems
a lot
pretty
of games with
cutthroat.
stuff like that, you kind of...
Yeah. Well, you've been jacking up my marriage for 3 years already.
What?
All these games we've been playing. But so I
You're going to blame me because you want to get out of the house and play a game. It's my fault.
So I was really intrigued by it. It seemed unique. I'm going for it. Brides and Bribes.
I'll be honest. I discounted it looking at the cover and the name.
Yeah, the
I was
cover
like,
kind of sucks, but
And I'm like, really? But looking at the board, it looks nothing like what the cover does.
yeah.
I actually have a window up. I'm actually gonna go do some more homework. You made it sound interesting, and the board looks cool. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna go investigate. It's 54 rating, 7.6 on BGG, 3.0 weight.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll check it out.
You check it out. I'll be playing it at some point.
Fair enough.
I do have to give him credit because I would have never seen that one coming.
Yeah, same here.
So it's a complete
Brides and
curveball from
That's right.
Mr.
I'm throwing knuckle
Mr.
junk here.
Mr. Softball. You're softball guy.
Brides and Bribes.
Yes.
Actually, last I saw that was tied. But all right, is it to Edward now?
It is. My
Can
number
you pull one out of
4?
your rear end the way he just did?
No. I don't think
Are we
any
still
of.
on 4?
Yeah, we.
Right.
Sorry, in in the game of let's make a list, 4 comes after 5.
Yes.
Transatlantic
before.
is my number 4. We've already covered
All
it,
right,
so I'll just
Transatlantic.
move on to my number 3.
Go to your number 3.
Hey, that's a good idea, Jim.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on to my number 3.
Thank you. I'm trying to be the
It's a
moderator.
game I've
like
been
you told me
waiting
I had
on
to be.
for. It's a game I've been waiting on for upwards of 3 years.
Uh-oh.
It's a Civ building game with
Uh-oh.
action selection with cards.
Uh-oh.
Designed by Jeff Warrender and published by Spielworks. The Sands of Time. Now, the one thing that I did have a little behind the scenes knowledge of, if you will, is that this
As opposed to all the
was-
other stuff? Okay, go ahead.
this took a little bit more time and work than Uli expected. And that's why it was originally supposed to come out in May of this year, and now it's going to be real close whether or not it makes Essen. If not, it might be like November, December, whatever. But it's a Civ building game, which I am a huge sucker for. And Jeff did a designer diary on BGG that I followed a number of years ago while he was working through the game. And I was like, so what's the story? And then a couple years ago, or maybe it's 18 months, 2 years or so, he got it signed with Spielworks. And I was like, okay, awesome. When can we see it? Oh, this year. Okay. So just, I've been waiting. I don't know a ton about the actual game itself and the actual mechanics of the game, but the fact that it's a Civ game and it's Spielworks, I'm absolutely going to be excited to take a look at it. There's no artwork. There's nothing has been shown on it. If you go to the BGG page, it's the same prototype picture that's been up there since 2015. So there's a video of Uli talking about it. The problem is it's all in Deutsch, and I don't
You can get that.
I could, but no, I can't. So anyway, so yeah, the Sands of Time, Civ game, Spielworks, my number 3.
That's a
There
flyer.
you go.
You're just basing that on pedigree, desire, wheelhouse, all those things. And it's just
All
kind of
right,
like,
I'll buy that.
yeah, no, I'm not blaming you at all because
You're
I
right.
mean,
No,
Spielworks. If Spielworks
Well,
put the
that-
game
and
out, it's on
And
my
seriously,
radar.
I
right?
have been waiting on this game
right.
for so long that it's funny. It's actually it's done the exact same thing that Transatlantic's done. That I'm like still waiting. I'm like, yeah, come on. But I've been waiting.
But
I mean,
the difference
Transatlantic
is
was my number 4.
Transatlantic is a
And-
game that we see a lot of, and it's hard to come by a good Civ game.
I agree.
Everybody
So there you go. Number 3.
Everybody keeps punching it through the ages. Nobody's beating it.
Nope.
Not nations. Not nations.
Serious.
Not close.
Not even close. Don't even utter those words in the same sentence.
I have to.
He has to. He has
All right.
to.
So
Can't
Eric,
help
you're
it.
number 3.
So
Or
I'll-
do you guys have any?
Yeah, so
anything
I'll say on
that?
Sands of Time, it rode pretty high into my list. So I appreciate your optimism, letting it get this high. It dropped off in the 20s for me, just purely because of lack of information. But clearly,
Yeah.
when Spielworks puts something out with a Civ, it's a Civ focus. I'm interested. I want to
Well,
play
we
it,
still have
so
one coming in this month with a Civ focus. So
That's right.
What's that?
Gentis?
Oh yes. Yes.
Yeah. Those of us normal people who haven't had Uli in our house showing it to us have it coming. So, so it looks like Sands of Time was in cell C47, so that's not too bad.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So Eric, you're number
All right.
3.
Yeah, my number 3, one that was mentioned already earlier by Edward, I think you mentioned as well, was Agra. The
Agra.
Michael Keller. I don't think, has he put anything out since La Granja?
No. Solaris
Solaris.
mission.
Oh, yes, right.
him
He
and
was
Oda,
on
yeah.
Solaris, but with
Right.
Oda.
Odie.
Both of those
Oda.
are with Oda, and so this is
Oda,
his first game by himself, and that's why I'm like, okay, so
Yeah.
let's see what Michael's chops are.
This
And this
by
is,
himself.
it looks like a beast of a game. It looks like it's got a lot going on. I think it has good potential. I don't know if it's, I don't know. It was reminding me of Madeira when I was looking at it in terms of its the amount of stuff going on, but
I don't think it's going to be that much.
Okay.
When the guys at Quinted showed me the game, it feels like this is going to fall right in that solid midweight, Rococo shipyard level game,
okay.
which there's nothing wrong with. I mean, I love those games. So I have high hopes, and we'll see how it goes. But I don't think it's going to be as complex.
okay. Rococo. Ooh, maybe I'll move this down the list.
Oh,
I don't know.
Well,
Weight
think
wise.
Lagrange. All right.
Yeah, I'll think Lagrange.
yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, so that was my number 3.
That's your number
Agra.
3? Agra. Okay, my number 3 is my well, I didn't do the disclaimer before we started. I did it last year and I did it with you on the phone, but there are a couple companies that don't do Essen. They do their P500s, their war game companies and all that. So, my number 3 is going to reignite my interest and love in coin. My number 3 is Pendragon. This one, to me, I think this one is going to utilize the coin system in a way because of all the crazy factions that are in what is now known as Britain at that time. And because of the time, that's the time of legends, the time of King Arthur's and things like that. I remember watching a BBC TV series called The Last Kingdom, which had the Danes in there fighting with the Roman Britons who were going to, try to establish Britain as a country, but there's all these lords and factions, so they don't, they're all just a bunch of tribes throughout that whole land with the Scots or whatever they were up above there trying to break through down there. There's always a threat. Some of them coexisted. Some of them made treaties. Some of them traded one thing that they had for another thing that they had and had an uneasy peace, but everything was always about to burst. And I think this system lends itself perfectly to that. It's a time period that I just think, as Fire in the Lake for me seems to be perfect for the counterinsurgency, the way those 4 factions are asymmetric and should be asymmetric, and each had a real important part in that war. Unlike Cuba Libre, which playing the Mafia just bores me. I think this one's going to be exciting no matter who you're playing, and I think each game is really going to ramp up into a different area, a different ending, different way to go. There is talk that you can still have a Roman Britain by the end of the game and things like that. So I'm looking forward to this one as to jump back into coin for me and to re-engage with the series, which I think is on one hand overrated because a lot of people would love it and play it. There's so many games in it, but on the other hand, for me, it's underrated because I really haven't explored it as much as I would really like to explore it. And that's just mainly because it feels like I've been punched in the face 27 times when I get done playing a game of it. But I'm hoping this one doesn't do that as much as some of the others do.
So does it have 4 factions as well? I have not looked that much into it.
My
I'm
understanding
interested
is
in
it does, but it also has other raiders that can come in. Don't quote me on that, man.
It plays 1 to 4.
It plays
so-
1 to
Yeah,
4,
okay.
but my understanding is there are more factions than just the 4 that you're playing that might get in there and mix things up. So you got the Irish, the Pict, the Saxon Raiders, you get Celtic, Germanic. So I don't know totally what is all going to be in the game, and I'm sure not everything that was going on at that time can be in it. Otherwise, you would have something crazy and unbalanced. But I think from what I've seen and from the development that I've read about, this looks like it's really going to hit the sweet spot for this series for me.
I've been listening to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, and it's the Celtic Holocaust is the most recent one that he's put out. Now, there's a lot of disagreement on who or what the Celtics were, whether that included the folks in Britain and whatnot. And the general consensus that he goes with is if you think you're a Celtic, then or if you think you're a Celt, you're a Celt.
Right.
So therefore, that has kind of triggered an interest in this in Pendragon when there really wasn't any, because even though I'm a big ancients guy, whether that's ancient Rome, ancient Greece, I have cooled quite a bit on the coin system because I always felt like you get one shot, and if you swing and miss, that's all she wrote.
Really?
Now, keep in mind that's limited plays, but that's how it felt, at least in the first few plays of the coin system. Now, that said, I have 5 or 6 of them sitting downstairs. It's just whether or not we get them to the table. But Pendragon, because of listening to Hardcore History, has it back on the radar when it originally wasn't going to be on the radar at all for me. And as far as GMT goes, the 2 big ones that I'm waiting on don't come out till next year now, Space Corps or Space Corp.
Yeah.
And
Mr. President.
my most anticipated game of the last, 18 months or so, and that's Mr. President.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that looks great.
That's everybody's
Yeah,
now.
so-
Everybody in the country wants that because we all know what's going on. And
We could all
wanna
be
see
a
if we
better
can do it,
president.
man.
We could all do this job.
Yeah.
So Pendragon sounds a lot more interesting to me now than it would have like a week ago before I listened to the Celtic Holocaust by Dan Carlin.
It's
so
just
there's
it's just that clash you've got going in that one little island, and all those influences from the Germanic peoples who have come over, to the Celts who are moving through, to the Romans who are trying to hang on to it and preach their religions, to the pagans who are becoming more, sentient or it's all that changing, the swirling, the politics, the religions, everything that's coming, and it could have gone in so many different directions. And if the game allows you to go in those different directions, excuse me, then I think it'll be worth putting at number 3.
all right, cool.
So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to your excitement on that to help drive me to play it, because I've kind of...
No, that's cool, right?
Yeah, that's good.
well,
'Cause
we
otherwise
should
I
we
may
should
not
really get
play it.
Fire in the Lake back out,
Absolutely.
because that was one
That's
we
the
both
best one
really
I've played.
felt good about.
Yes, I mean, I played A Distant Plane, didn't love it.
Yeah.
Falling Sky, I never got to the table and
Right.
traded away. Cuba Libre was like not enough going on. Fire in the Lake was great.
Liberty and Death just
I
seems
really- I
like
have
you should
that.
be
I wanna
playing a
play
Revolution
that.
game instead.
Yeah,
So,
but the theme of that one captures me, and this one's like, yeah, I could get into that, but I'm glad that you'll be driving that train and I'll ride it.
it's
That's always nice when you have kind of somebody who's really excited about whether it's a theme or a mechanism within a game that can help invigorate the rest of the group.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
it's fantastic
That's right.
when he comes so wound up and excited about Lorenzo Il Magnifico. It's always nice when that happens. Jeez. You haven't been in this group,
Don't you have a
Edward.
number 2?
I have a number
Get
2.
on with it.
Number 2 is Agra. Agra's number 2 for me. I don't know. I kind of agree with Eric on that one. I looked it over and read everything about it. You've got this big board, and you've got that Imperial thing that you have to put together, and it's kind of slanted. And you
It's
got
like
slanty-
Potion Explosion.
Yeah, it's a potion explosion board for your nobles or whatever they're going up that thing, and also some resource spots, I guess. It just looked like a sprawling game all over there. I love Lagrania. I like Solarius Mission. I got the feeling, looking this one over, that this is kind of Keller swinging for the fences and possibly adding more weight than those have, or at least a little more length. Lagrania plays fine. In fact, it's almost perfect length of time and everything you get going. Solarius always feels like, oh, we just got started and it's over. So I'm kind of hoping this one goes Lagrania plus and swings for the fences. And to me, I'm thinking, wow, if he hits the home run, this could be the 2017 Essen Lisboa, because Lisboa is already out, you know. So this is the one that would be rising to that, to give that some competition on that Euro front. It just looked head and shoulders above the other Euros that I was looking at on those lists. Maybe it's because of all the chrome in it. I don't know. Maybe I'm being swayed by a little pretty face winking at me, but it just looks really,
Is that Michael
really
Keller?
good. No, it's his game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The other one that's reminded me.
No,
of
go
a
ahead.
little
Go
bit,
ahead.
It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah.
No, you're fine.
It's
Go
timing.
ahead. No, hey,
timing, Edward. Come on.
I enjoy your enthusiasm. I just don't think it's going to be as big of a game as you guys are anticipating. And I'm not trying to dissuade you or take the air out of your sails. I just want more of because I've seen it.
Yeah.
And Paul over at Quinted, he took me through like a 5-minute high level overview of the game. And I was like, that sounds like a solid midweight game. That's cool. I'm looking forward to it. I definitely want to check it out, but it's definitely not going to be deep waters as far as.
Is it in your top 10?
It is.
Is it in your top 10?
Yes.
So that's the one game that's 3 top 10s here today. So
or one of a Gaia project still to come, I imagine.
Oh, Gaia project. Yeah. That's the other one. Yeah.
Well, and no, and
we'll talk about that when you get to his number one.
But yeah, but the point is there's enough off the beaten path here between the three of us, but there's also we all like similar type games, a similar weight range of games, and the fact that all of us have games like Kalimala and Agra on our list, I think that's awesome. That's fantastic.
I didn't. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It's the 5-minute co-op of the Heavy Cardboard group.
Right.
Plays in under 4 minutes. One, the Cousins War. That was one.
So that was your number 2?
That was my number
Jim?
2. So your number 2 is Uwe Rosenberg's.
Why am I talking about the Cousins War? I'm talking about the Gaia Project at number 2.
2.
All right.
And so this is the Terra Mystica in Space, as Jim affectionately called it. So, I mean, I think it definitely takes, obviously, its roots from Terra Mystica. No doubt about that. It's a very similar game. I think they probably have used all the Snellman.net playtesting that they've learned about in the Terra Mystica system. And hopefully, they've come up with some ideas to smooth the game out. A couple of the critical ones are that they have a modular board now. So we have a variable board that can be scaled by player count, which, Terra Mystica was, I'll readily admit, was a very poor 2-player game and not a great 3-player game either. It's a 4 or 5 only for me game. This one, maybe extends that down. It also has a solo mode in it, which,
which
that's become
got to have nowadays.
Yeah, more and more. I'm not a huge solo gamer, but I do like to have that in the box if it's well done. So I appreciate
that being the key, if it's well done.
If
and
it's
I feel
well
like
done.
too many of these games, they bolt on player counts that they shouldn't just because.
It could be. But, there's been some recent, in the last year and a half, I'll put Feast for Odin there. It's not tacked on. I'd put Terraforming Mars as not tacked on.
No, Feast for Odin was tacked on as the multiplayer.
As Lisboa is not tacked on. So, hopefully this won't be tacked on. Maybe I've become a little optimistic about the solo mode. But they also took the cult track out, which I really didn't have a problem with. I like just fine, but a lot of people don't like in Terra Mystica. They took that out and they put kind of a technology. There's 6 technology levels that basically it looks like your asymmetry and your faction build out is less about the faction you get at the beginning of the game and more about the faction you build throughout the game.
And if Terra Mystica offered you an option to take different directions with your factions, yeah,
and that it looks like that's a key element. That's probably the biggest element added here. There's also, it's minor, but there seems to be more power burning and entry in the game than there was at least in the base game of Terra Mystica. But in the expansion of Terra Mystica, that was more of an element with the expansion factions, which I found to be kind of an interesting twist on the system. So it's nice they're carrying that forward. And so, yeah, it's obviously one of my favorite games, so I'm highly interested in this one, Gaia Project.
Yeah, the fact that it brings in a tech tree into the game definitely piqued my interest a lot more. And I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that they have learned from the, not mistakes, but the feedback that they have gotten regarding Terra Mystica. And let's face it, Terra Mystica is a very highly ranked game as is. So, I mean, having more of the same, I wouldn't blame them if they did it. I'm just hoping that it's not just Terra Mystica in space. I hope it's its own animal. You know what I mean? And not just a riff of the same thing.
Yeah. That's my worry. My worry is it's, okay, so we had Lagrangia, we had Solarius mission, which people were saying were Lagrangia in space. It's not. It's its own animal.
Right.
So
I agree. It's totally its own animal.
If Gaia Project can do the same thing, differentiate itself from Terra Mystica, but still appeal to that same itch, or give you that same itch to scratch that Terra Mystica does, then fine. That's why it's on our lists.
Well, and Terra's been, it's a unique game. When I mentioned that years of playtesting on snowman.net, I mean, there's an incredible amount of data from an active player community for this game that's logged. I mean, there are analytics that can be delved to the ultimate depths on, the faction weighting and, which factions competing against others and under what conditions. And so I think that's pretty cool. I hope that they've at least utilized some of those learnings that are kind of archived in a way for Terra Mystica that you don't see for very many games.
I've never not really enjoyed a play of Terra Mystica. And there are certain people I will not play the game with because of either severe AP problems or, like Ben Belichick. I won't play with him because of scripting and all that stuff. I want to play a game. I don't want somebody scripted and all that. I don't want somebody that just sit there all night going, should I move this purple pill to the X? Oh, do I use it? What do I do? So, but that usually hasn't happened in the groups of people I played Terra Mystica with. It's been fun games. I mean, it's juicy enough. It's just that I always feel like I'm on rails. Like, okay, I've got this one thing that gives me
one of my major complaints.
An ability once I get my stronghold out, and it's an ability that I get a free thing once a turn. The yellow or the green one does that. That means on my first round, I have to get that stronghold out. Otherwise, I am not going to win the game if somebody else is playing at my level.
Well, like Justin Timberlake did, we're bringing Randall back, and he's going to teach you this Gaia Project.
Okay.
That was a joke, Edward.
Yeah,
all righty. Yeah.
That was a joke.
You got
no. So all of us have high hopes, I think is a good way to put it, right? For Gaia Project overall.
It's going to be a nice steak. The question is, will it be undercooked, overcooked? We don't know. I mean, that's the question. It's going to be a nice hunky piece of meat. Do we want to, will it be appetizing once we figure out what it looks like and how cooked it is? That's where we're at on that. But it's in our top 10, so it's one of two games in our top 10s. One that's going to be heavy, but we're unsure, given the track record of the first game, which is beloved, but two of us feel there are severe problems with. Is it going to come with a set of problems like that game? Whereas the other game that we all have in our Agra, the worry is there enough meat on that bone to chew on over and over again? So those are the two games that we all three have, but we also have it's funny because we have more reservations, I think, as a group about those two games than most of the other games on these lists. Very interesting.
That really is. All right, so that's Gaia Project. My number 2, Eric actually talked about a year ago. Put it on my radar, and I haven't been able to shake it since. And it really, one or two, these two could be interchanged, to be honest.
Oracle of Delphi?
On my list. Not so much. Democracy Under Siege, designed by Luca Camisa. And published for the first time, actually published by a game publisher, which is For Dados, I think is how you say it.
That's right, yep.
So this game originally came out as a self-published game back in 2011, I think, and it has a living rules set. It was then made available as a kind of a print and play through the Game Crafter, and now finally there is an actual published version that you can actually go somewhere and pick up or order from that isn't a print on demand company like the Game Crafter. So this is definitely a carryover from last year. I went by their booth to see this game and there was nothing in their booth.
Yeah, I remember you saying that. It was just a barren booth, right?
Right. And I do wonder if it's because this was the main game for them last year, that because the cover of the game had a swastika on it and Essen's in Germany, that's a big no-no. Yeah. I do wonder if that's the reason for it. But neither here nor there.
Well, it is
have a
illegal.
booth. It is.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't want to make any, statements saying that is I don't know, but I wondered. The new cover of the game does not have a swastika on it anymore. So I don't know. Makes me think about it. But it's a kind of a waro political game that takes place from it indulges a lot of what if scenarios between 1933 and 1940. And it says it's a simulation enabling you to explore those what ifs in the lead up to World War II. Card-driven strategy game reproduces the geopolitical conflicts and political struggles that led to the Second World War. Covers, like I said, 33 to 1940 and is designed for 2 to 3 players. Each player takes the role of one of 3 ideologies, democracy, Nazism, and communism, that struggle for power during the timeline of the game. And I actually did some reading up on this, that the guys of the First Minnesota game group, which is, these guys are hardcore grognards, but they also play a lot of Euros. They play a lot of other things. And they've been playing Democracy Under Siege and have been absolutely loving the game, which is only going to fuel my anticipation and my excitement for this game. The fact that it's kind of Euro meets political war game that really has me really, really excited about this game. It looks like just a big sprawling, but without it being a monster war game. Like, you don't need a massive table, or you don't need 4 tables to put together. It's just a normal size board. However, it has a lot going on in there, and it's all about that geopolitical struggle between the ideologies more so than the actual war game aspect. And that really appeals to me. Plus, it's a riff on a war game type game that is coming at it from a different angle that I don't know any other game that has looked at this type of struggle between the ideologies as opposed to the war game. So yeah, I'm super, super stoked about this, and 1 copy will definitely be coming back with me from Essen.
So it looks like there's kind of in the upper left of the board this political regimes track, which seems to show anarchy, U.S. democracy, communism, and probably, fascist dictatorship, although it doesn't really say that. It looks kind of like Hitler standing up with his hands up. Then there's a bunch of spaces there, so I'm kind of wondering if, I haven't looked into this that much since last year, but if there's some mechanism by which, this is shifting around the ideology, and it's kind of a at least a 2-dimensional track on a circle, so it's sort of different, and how does it skew one way or another? So
yeah,
it looks really cool.
It really does. And the fact that you're battling, the war is the war of politics as opposed to dudes on the ground, right?
Yeah. All right.
So yeah,
that's good. Looks good.
I'm super stoked about this game, man. Like, jumping out of my skin, excited. I legitimately have been keeping one eye on this constantly ever since you put it on my radar last year. And when I went to Essen last year and it wasn't there, that was one of the biggest disappointments. I was like, son of a. Yeah. So, and also I should point out that it has a playtime of 3 hours. So it's not like it's all day or all weekend affair. It's a 3-hour game.
Yeah.
So
I like how we say that. Other people think, well, that is all night. That is, we're supposed to be able to get this done in 45 minutes. So we're looking at it from like, well, it's not a 9-hour train game. So
you don't go to bed that early.
It's all about perspective, right?
We have time for another game tonight.
We'll play 3 rounds of Democracy Under Siege.
All right, that was number 2. Correct?
Yes. Oh, I guess I go with my number 1.
That being like the thing you're keeping an eye on, that was only number 2. So number 1 must be mind blowing.
It's a game that I don't even know until earlier tonight you'd even heard about, Jim. And It has a odd name to the game. Uh-oh. It's published by Holland Spiel, designed by Tom Russell, and that's 4X. 4X being short for foreign exchange. Mm-hmm. It's a game about currency trading. I know. Ooh, that's boy, people are running out to go buy that.
Exciting news there. It's like watching the Cincinnati Reds play.
Hey, hush.
Hey, hush.
An opaque, nerdy, butterfly effect game, players take the roles of international financiers who trade and manipulate currency values. Each of the game's several currencies only has value relative to one another, and these fluctuate according to the player investments and divestments. That's finance at its core. Yes, please. Cannot wait. Even though this is not going to be at Essen, it's going to be released in October. I figured that was good enough. So 4X, my most anticipated game, I guess, of the Essen time frame. So yeah, super excited about this.
Which cell is that in on yours?
I'm sad that I've heard of this game and it wasn't on the Essen list.
It wasn't on the Essen list.
So I failed to look at it here.
So I have to say, feel cheated right now.
I have to say, foreign exchange.
He's pulling one out that isn't even on the list that we can find anyway, just because he talked to a guy who knew a guy.
Pendragon boy.
No, it's known out there, but there's nothing. I'm a nerd. I got to admit it. I love foreign exchange and the dynamics that go into what makes currencies fluctuate. I read about it every day in the Wall Street Journal. If there's any articles I read, those are the articles I read. I would love to play this. I'm sorry it wasn't on the dumb Essen list. I would have certainly been flagged. I'd heard of it, but then I forgot about it.
So I'm going to do this the right way.
So I would put this I would probably put this in the top 10 and bump Antiquity.
No, I'm going to do this the right way. I'm like, oh, Edward, it just missed. It's like 12 for me. Number 12.
So hold on, Eric.
Where were you,
I'm
Eric?
returning
Number
the favor
12 for me, man.
I'm returning the favor that you did to me last year. Okay. You put Democracy Under Siege on my radar, and now I'm returning the favor with 4X.
And next year I won't even be on the show. So
yeah. Next year, I'll be in Jim's basement. It'll just be you and I, Edward.
All right.
You'll be here too, though.
Okay, deal.
All right.
So 4X, my number one, most anticipated of the Essen release time frame. So Eric, what's your number one?
Yeah, I don't know if I can follow up. I'm frothing over currency trading, and all I have is the other Terra Mystica variant, Clans of Caledonia, which I put at number one because I like the theme better than the Gaia project. And it isn't exactly Terra Mystica, but they took a lot of ideas of Terra Mystica in Clans of Caledonia. This is a game designed by Juma Al-Juju with artist Clemens Franz, published by Karma Games. I know this was kickstarted. I think it's still something that can be pre-ordered using the backer kit. I don't know how that works, but I've heard about it. I think you could still get the Kickstarter version if anybody's interested.
Isn't this one of them I was reading all the stuff? I think this might be the one where the Kickstarter is going to be the same as retail or something.
Yeah, well, I know there weren't very many stretch goals in the Kickstarter. Right. I didn't back it, but then I instantly regretted it after it went. I think I wanted to back it, but it's
never heard that before.
Yeah, it's a Scottish themed. Kind of, it's got modular boards. It's kind of a route and network building like Terra Mystica. It has some
Al-Juju isn't a Scottish name.
Yeah, it has 9 factions, and these are clans, Scottish clans. They all have unique powers. It has a sharing element, like when you build next to people, you get extra stuff, which is clearly something from Terra Mystica. Single action per turn until all players pass sounds a lot like Terra Mystica. But one of the key differences of it is that as you take over territory, I think this will be different. I mean, you do change the resources you generate in Terra Mystica based on the buildings you put out. But in this one, it seems like it's more, there's like a resource engine and buying and selling of commodities with fluctuating prices based on whether they're being bought or sold, which is
and that market fluctuation is the hook for me. That's the reason it's on this list, is the dynamic market aspect is what has me looking forward to this game.
Exactly. And that's what kind of got me hooked. It's, obviously, I love Terra as a core system. This isn't Terra Mystica exactly. It does borrow ideas. It adds some ideas. I'm on board with Clans of Caledonia.
And it's on all three of our lists, right?
So that's three games
right.
now. And
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of put it on the list because if it delivers on what it promises, it belongs there. But I kind of felt like I kind of had to put it on the list because it should deliver what it promises, right?
It should,
And I
yeah.
love the Scottish things, and we're drinking Irish tonight.
It has whiskey in the game.
So I'm gonna
Can't
do
go
a
wrong
little
with
heavy
that.
cardboard thing here, like they do their live streams and all that. So I got a tweet here from Louisville Dad. Hey, you got your trunk in my whiskey. No, you got your whiskey on my trunk. There we go. So making Edward feel at home that we're doing.
That's pretty funny. I saw that right when before we went live, and I was like, "That's awesome."
Because
Well
you
done,
always
yes.
stop in the middle of doing something to go, oh, yeah, this guy just said that. And I'm, usually lurking in there some once in a while going, who cares? Who cares what somebody says?
I'm the ultimate lurker.
We
man.
care what you say, Louisville Dad, but
You might
nobody
lurk,
else.
but I'm the ultimate Twitter
Are
lurker.
you? Are
Yes.
you the ultimate Twitter lurker?
Yes.
So
All
your
right.
number one.
The number one, the final number one of the night. Let me find it here. You guys could have
Let
stalled
you
a
bring
little
it
longer
home.
here, man. I'm going to bring it
You
home.
were
I
busy
don't
with
remember.
Louisville Dad. Bring
It
it,
would-
home, Jim.
It would be nice if this was in alphabetical order.
He forgot
on
to
these
print
sheets
that
here.
page.
No, I
And he
printed
can't
it.
remember his number one.
Oh, I can remember it.
Scotch happens.
Good.
Oh,
talk
wait, no,
amongst
it's Irish, you
yourself,
said,
man.
so
we're
it's-
drinking
it's
12-year-old
just
Irish.
whiskey,
We're
right?
taking. See, look at that. Juma El Juju. I had it.
You had it written.
Yeah. Where is
drinking
my number one? What
Kleinlich.
the hell happened to my number one?
This episode brought
All
to
right.
you by
My number one. John Manker has two designs. This one's by himself, though. Artist is Elin Elskog, Annie Mosina, Johanna Pedersen. Published by Ion Game Design, and this is called Expedition Zeta. I'm taking a flyer. I'm going for it here, man, because this one has a revolutionary Zeta planetary system generator used in the advanced game. Can generate as many different star systems in the game as there are in the known universe. Done. Finished. Peace out. What more
Drop
do you
the
need,
mic.
man?
That's
All
it.
right. So we have had a lot of success with space games. Discover strange planetary systems, randomly generated, find exotic new substances, develop exoproducts that can advance human technology, gain new knowledge, encounter new forms of life, perhaps encounter another star-faring civilizations. See your crew interact that can lead to romance or intrigue, brides and bribes,
it's like The Sims in space.
which can either help or hinder you. Want a quick game? Use the quick rules. It seems to me, and looking at the pictures of the game, it kind of looked almost not quite as crazy as High Frontier, but they had a bunch of boards that looked as dense or as enticing to me, wanting a deep game experience. This might be the game for us. This might be our space game. I don't.
That'd be awesome if so.
Yeah. Time crystals. Oh, man, there's time crystals next to a super hot giant O-star. I mean, the terminology is there. It seems like we might get into space and do some stuff and have some fun and explore it with a combination of Super Motherlode meets Solaris Mission meets Gaia Project
Frontier.
meets High Frontier without all the
Hegemonic.
crazy, And John Manker, I mean, if he's on Bios Megafauna, he's got some chops, right?
Right.
So
I mean, he's used to big games, and the only reason it didn't make my list is because it's only a demo. Because
is it really?
Yeah.
Well, good. Maybe
Um,
this will be like
It's
Democracy
I think
Under
it's currently
Siege for you
still
next
on
year.
Kickstarter, actually, right now.
Is it really?
It's on. It is.
all right. I got excited. All right, then scrap it. I'm done with that one. Let's go to the next
No,
one. here.
but the game sounds.
Cosmogenesis. No.
The game
Which-
sounds fantastic.
This one
when
made
I
my-
looked at it.
I think it made it into my top 50. The only things that stopped me was I was really geeking out on the setup.
Yes.
Setup looked fantastic.
Yes.
Oh man, it's great. But it looked like there was a fair bit of die rolling in the game, which might be fine, but it was kind of like
It
the
all
setup's
depends whether or not
great,
it's
but the
mitigatable.
gameplay I don't know.
Right. If it's mitigated die rolling, which most people have put into games nowadays, and it seems to me the guy who's part of the team that designs Biogenesis, I shouldn't say that, Megafauna, would find way to mitigate it or would know about that.
And there was mitigation. It may be great. I just didn't know. It made it into a couple tiers of cuts, but it didn't go to the top.
There are 2 different solo variants in the game. Yeah.
I would have had it in my top 10 easy, without a doubt, no question.
And
it were
I cannot believe I missed the demo thing on
it's
that
no
list.
big deal, man. Don't sweat that.
No, I was really looking at all those, and I guess I just got so excited about this one that thinking, this is good, this could be good. But, it may be Innis was 2 years on there, so maybe this is not speaking
all
well
right.
for this game then.
So that's our top 10s, right?
Those are the top 10s.
So, Eric, you have a plethora, Hefe, of other stuff.
Yeah.
I have a list of 7 really obscure things that I am really, really excited to check out, but that's it. That's basically what I have.
Yeah. Well, I have a list of 5 that didn't make the top 10.
Go for it.
I'll just list them off really quick. One of them was Keeper, we talked about earlier. Feudum is a game that was not really in the Essen list, but it's coming out around. No, it's coming out around Essen.
Yeah, I think it's November is when it's actually going to be available.
I'm still a little bit baffled by how it actually works. I know he had it at Gen Con. Did you get a chance to look at it at Gen Con, Edward?
It's actually in the basement right now because we're going to be doing a playthrough of it and a review of it before Essen. So hopefully that'll help. I'll be honest. The only thing that we have done with the game thus far is we did a learning game of it.
Yeah.
And I went from really apprehensive to, oh, hey, this seems like there's going to be some really good stuff here.
You moved your hand down when you did that.
Oh, like from high apprehension to
it was
low
your apprehension
so,
level you're showing.
Yeah.
Excitement.
So we wouldn't be reviewing it and doing a playthrough of it if we were like about the game.
Sure.
So.
Then the other ones were Pixie Queen, which I think was one on the list from last year. That's
actually on my short list that just missed it as well. Yeah,
I was excited about that. Looks like who could score the least negative amount of points because the queen is such a biatch or whatever at the top of her castle. 878 Vikings Invasion of England from Academy Games. I think this might be out. I don't know how close this is tied to.
I think that one's out because that's the expansion comes out at Essen, I believe. I was looking at that myself.
So that looks.
That was a Kickstarter.
It's not a very heavy game, but it looked really interesting. And then the other one, which I really want Jim to play, I think he's going to have to. He will play this. Is Pearl Games' new Otis. Which seems like
I was
really
looking
good.
at that. That almost made my list.
I was thinking this might be the next Deus.
Yeah.
It's called Otis. I don't know, but we'll play.
And
it.
Otis is OTYS.
That's right, OTYS. And so those are the ones I named. I mean, I had Peak Oil was down the list further, but I'll just leave it at what I have there.
All right. So some others that I figure I would at least mention that made the one short of the final cut. 1920 Wall Street looks like maybe a thinky economic filler. There's a game called 2GM Tactics that looks like an interesting card-driven war game. I'm excited about the new Agricola deck because I have 50 of the decks downstairs that still haven't been played. But new Agricola deck.
Is it going to fit the old game though? Because it says for the new version.
Yeah, I don't know, but I will try and find out.
It's going to be really annoying.
He's going to get it and find out.
Yeah. Altiplano, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a bag building game like Orleans, but it's set in the Andes Mountains. That looked kind of cool. Charterstone, I'm really apprehensive about, but there's a lot of buzz, but we'll see. I'm taking the wait and see approach on that one.
There's a lot of stickers in that one. It's tough for me to watch.
Import export. I've heard references to Glory to Rome, but economic wise, and I don't know.
I've heard the economy's a little bit weak from a local guy here that has it. He says the economy's a little weak, but the multi-use cards is like in spades, and he was saying if you like Chuddick, you would probably like this, which I do like Chuddick.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I like most of his stuff, so that's cool. And I find it interesting that not a single one of us, I don't find it surprising, I find it interesting that not a single one of us on our short lists or on our actual top 10 put in News Forward.
What
The
section is
new
it in?
Uwe.
Which section is it in for you?
I let it go to stage 5, which is like in the top 20, but I don't really. It was just because I was really smitten by the cover, to be honest. The cover is that thing is beautiful.
It's the newest Uwe Rosenberg, but at this point, I'm gonna no.
Could you tell us what you do in it? What do you do in this game?
You cut down trees and
Do you get wood?
dig up peat, but it's also supposed to be on the lighter side, which that also led me to kind of say, I don't know about that.
I mean, hey, it works for him, and there are plenty of people that enjoy his new style of games. So, hey, if you enjoy that type of thing, definitely check it out. For present company, apparently not. All right, so last things, these 7, these are going to be some really small print run obscure stuff.
You want me to do mine before you do those, so those are more special? My near misses, and then you can do yours?
I didn't know you had near misses, Jim.
yeah.
By all means, please.
What was that hand signal? I missed it.
I was blowing you kisses.
I see.
There's a Glory to Rome board there behind it.
There is a Glory to Rome board.
So I really did have this game called Cosmogenesis that was in and out of my top 10. And it's Yves Tournier, Northwest Passage fame, which is a game I kind of like. I think it's a little underrated. Basically, you're creating your solar systems by crashing objects into each other. And they even have a disclaimer in the rule book saying, we know that this isn't all science and we're taking liberties. Please don't beat us up. But we wouldn't be able to play a game. We know that a comet doesn't actually do what we have it do, but it's close enough. So that was one I had on there. 2 other GMT games, Hitler's Reich, which looks like a very interesting, quick-playing, supposedly 2 hours or less, card-driven game about controlling the areas from Egypt to Russia to Britain in the Second World War. And Wild Blue Yonder, which I guess has been getting upgrades to it and everything, whereas the retail price has gone up by $10, although they're keeping the P500 price as what it was. So apparently this is gaining a lot of steam within the way the guy is building it up. There's a couple hundred planes or something in there. So it looks like a dogfighting type game, GMT style, which was really interesting. The other ones I had on here, you've already mentioned, Kalimala, Altiplano, which could be really good or could be bog standard Euro games for me. And that's why they're on. They're here. They seem like the best of the bunch. Riverboat, another one. And then I'll just and Nice Cup of Tea, which I'm surprised didn't make a list, because that's the Snowdonia people, and this one looks to have the same kind of feel that Snowdonia has with a few extra things.
Demo only is why that didn't.
Well, damn it, I missed that again. All right.
Well,
we can't all be as smart as you.
Oh,
Jim. I'm a dumb old
guy. It's not a smart. It's being thorough.
It's
that's
10
all.
a.m. to 6 p.m. That's what leads to these answers.
Yeah. How about Heaven and Ale? Is that a demo only? That looked interesting, but is there a good beer crafting game? I don't know.
Not yet.
But that sounded interesting. You're making a monastery at least, so it could be Orlabor, right?
Yeah, Nice Cup of Tea. Tony Boydell, really good designer, but 2018 release. So yeah.
And then Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, which has an amazingly creative title. And thanks, guys. And was delayed and changed and took down from Kickstarter, I guess, and put back up with some changes, even though it had funded, apparently. This is from the people who do, all the Tiny Epic whatevers or something like that.
Okay.
That was, it looked like a heavy game with all that going on, but I just, that delay, that change, that kind of made me worry about, we're bringing in a new script writer. The director's gone, a different director here.
I think it's demo only as well.
It could be.
I love you, Eric. Thank you.
I took that one for you, Edward.
All right, I'm done.
All right, let's hear about these rare gems.
Eric's just had
Well, no.
three
They might
three
not
nice
be.
grams of nice whiskey, and now he's busting my balls because it's empty.
All right. So I have 7. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these, but here we go.
Good, because people are tired of listening to you.
All right. First one of the.
Did you
Off
say
the
this was an
Beaten Path
annual
games.
experiment? I think we're done
How
after
long?
this one, right? Go
How
ahead.
long? The Way of the Dragon.
What?
Uh,
How long?
Tao Long. TAO space LONG. The Way
I
of
thought
the
you were
Dragon.
saying how long.
Published by Thundergriff Games and others, designed by Dox Luchin and Pedro Latro. I apologize for butchering it. It looks like a thinky filler. Each player controls a dragon that are they're bound together by the Tau, and you manipulate tokens on a special board in order to activate your dragon. However, how you manipulated it is going to change the options that your opponent has. Plays anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. Look kind of cool, and the artwork is gorgeous. So looking forward to checking that out.
That's a pretty board. Good one-handed
It is.
movements there on that computer. Can you get the next one?
Yeah, I can. I can. Throw
Next
it at
one
us,
is
Edward.
Tokyo Highway, designed by Notaka Shimamoto and Yoshiaki Tomioka, published by Itten. It's a crazy dexterity game of placing tiny cars on thin, balanced roads that people build up, and you have to do so with tweezers, and the tweezers come supplied in the game.
Yeah, Brandon
kidding
made you
me.
put this one on here, right?
No, it actually looks really cool. Hey, whatever. Tokyo Highway.
That'll
Thing
be
looks nuts.
That'll be a fun throwdown at HeavyCon 2018.
That's all I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the next one is arguably the heaviest theme-wise of any game outside of this War of Mine, and it's called Raid on Taihoku. It's designed by Tang Chi Min, I think is how you pronounce it. I apologize. Published by Mizo. And here, I just wrote this down. What they said. In the closing stages of World War II, when Taiwan was still a Japanese colony, more than 100 U.S. B-24 bombers launched an air raid on Taipei. Political and military facilities were the main targets, but civilians were also affected. Many homes were destroyed, and a large number of people were killed or wounded. Raid on Taihoku takes you back to Taiwan in 1945. In the midst of war, you must cooperate to survive. You will be fettered and will face difficult choices. We must persevere until the war is over, win together or lose together. Not big on co-ops. However, damn.
Yeah, the board doesn't look fantastic, but yes, I remember reading that thinking the same thing. And then it was co-op, and I don't know about that. But,
Right.
Yeah.
I figure I would at least, give it a little bit of play here. The next one, I'm going to be really pissed off because it says all the pre-orders are already sold out on this. It's a game called Lagerstatten, designed by Masaki Suga and published by Analog Lunchbox. It's a worker placement game. It looks like a print and play, the picture that they have up for it. But it's a worker placement game themed on excavating fossils and collecting sets of fossils.
He needs the spelling.
Oh, it's LAGERST and then A with the 2 dots over it, TTEN.
Is it one word?
Yes, all one word. Lagerstatten, LAGERST. That should be enough to get it there.
He can't get it. Oh, there it is. He got it.
Okay,
But
keep going. Sorry.
No worries.
I
So
looked
the
at
game
that as
plays
well. It does look like print and
upwards
play.
of 2.5 hours for this worker placement
think we've
game,
lost
and
Edward.
it's about excavating fossils. And I'm like, wow, there aren't
Look
many
at
of
that.
those.
We've lost Edward.
So that
He's got a
sounded
nice smiley
kind of
face
interesting to
going
me.
on there. His sheet, he's stuck in full motion. Is he coming
guys
back
still
to
there?
us? Will I be able to figure out where we are? If he doesn't stop his audio on his side, we'll be all right. Hey, Eric, we got him back. He's back.
He's back.
We lost him for a few
Oh,
seconds
man.
there, but he's back. Are you back?
Oh, that's funny. And here I thought, oh, I have you back because I lost you guys. So,
Yeah, you
okay.
did.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Sure.
We've only been running like 5 computers between us, so one of them was bound to screw up, right?
Right. Inevitably, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, so that last one was Lagerstatten, which, like I said, it's all the pre-orders are sold out. And they said any non-claim pre-orders you can pick up, they'll put up for sale on Sunday afternoon at Essen. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna be bummed if I can't get a copy of that because that sounds really cool. The idea of excavating fossils as a worker placement game. So the penultimate game on my list here for the obscure guys is QE, the letter QE, designed by Gavin Birnbaum and published by Cubico Games. These are the same guys that made Fog of War last year. Mm-hmm. So, Eric, I know you're going to dig something like this. The financial crisis has occurred. 16 too-big-to-fail companies from 4 countries need bailing out. The central banks have unlimited financial resources. So lots of money is going to be printed, but the central banks also face disaster. You print too much money, and the country they represent goes bust. And so in QE, you play the role of a central bank. You bid on different size companies to accumulate various levels of victory points, so on and so forth. However, after the 16 companies have been bailed out, bonus victory points are awarded for company sets of nationalization, monopolization, and diversification. But here's the kicker. Player markers on the scoring track show who has the most victory points. However, players now have to add up the amount of money they printed, and the player who printed the most money loses all their victory points, and basically you completely devalued your currency.
That sounds interesting.
It does, doesn't it? And so I was like, dude, I want to check this out. So yeah, that's why it's on the list. And the last one is the third in kind of a series of unrelated, just small games, designed by Stefan Riesthaus, designer of Gentis as well as Arkwright, and published by his own publishing house, which is Ostia Spiele. It's called Riga, and the first game was 2 years ago Visby, then last year was Tallinn, this year is Riga, to where you take and trade commodities in the Baltic Sea in the 13th century. Okay, I'm in. Yes, please. Small little, like €7 game. Plus it's designed by Stefan Riesthaus, so I'm willing to give it a shot. So, but that's it. That's all my little obscure small game, some aspect, small print run things that I'm curious to check out. So
You're just bringing a little attaché for those to bring those back?
I hope so. I will certainly try. How's that?
Oh, okay. Well, don't try. Do.
I can't promise about Lagenstatten, but the other ones.
I'm just thinking about your own disappointment if you don't come back with those. That's all I'm thinking about. I'm worried for you, man.
I'm talking about getting a copy for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Hey, I would be thrilled. I'll play a little Stefan Riesthaus game any day, anytime.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. All right. A little technology snafu there. But seeing as we're not live, no problem.
Right? Seriously. Thank God for editing.
This problem there. Thank God for editing. Yeah, who's going to do that, by the way?
That'd be you, sir.
That's me? Amanda wasn't on the show. She can do it, right?
I'll let you convince her of that.
All right. Anything else?
I think it's
I thoroughly enjoyed this, guys. Thanks for being willing to do this again with me. I had fun, and hopefully the folks listening, whether it's your show, our show, whatever, get some stuff on the radar and maybe a little bit more insight into some of these games that they're either are excited about or weren't, and maybe they are now. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yep, 3 pretty good lists, I think.
All right.
Yep, sounds good.
Are we done?
All right.
My number one
fellas.
again is a demo
Good night, everybody.
All right, we're done. We're going
Good
back
night,
to our
y'all.
shows. We're saying good night. We're doing whatever. So
I said good day, sir.
from us to you, good day.
Good day, sir.
Is Eric saying good day? No.